criminal charges in the courts against Mr. Ofori-Atta in due course, whether in absentia or otherwise. The principle upon which we proceed is that no person, regardless of title, regardless of status, regardless of medical condition, is beyond the reach of inquiry by the OSP. From 20 to 21 March, when he said he was going to have the possible medical intervention, surgical intervention, upon which reckoning we indulgently said, oh, take some of the days, recuperate. So he suggested he will come between 14 to 30 May. He said, oh, take a few more days, come on 2nd June. How friendly can we be beyond this? After accommodating you, you sat by for at least 67 days when you knew your condition had changed, and you never bothered to tell the OSP that there's been a fundamental change in your condition. You're acting in bad faith, utter bad faith, and for which reason we have stopped this party. What will his presence do? Now, as I said, in due course, we will charge him, whether in absentia or otherwise. Imagine we charge him in absentia and we get a conviction against him. Who are we imprisoning or who are we fining? Say, to get a simple mathematics of it. As I said in my brief, a suspect in a criminal matter does not choose how the investigative authority should go about investigating him. When he wants to appear, when he decides to appear, in what way he wants to appear. We do not take caution statements online from a foreign jurisdiction. And who says, I even want to take a caution statement from him? He is the one who is dictating, he wants to dictate the process. You get it? And we have always insisted from the onset that we want him here. Legally, I will say that to you. But there's a far more grave reason why we need him here. And since the investigation is still going on, it will be rounded up soon. I will not be able to disclose to you. But as I said, that possibility, if we take him to court, if he is convicted, if he is sentenced to some number of days, months, years in prison, in absentia, what would we have done if we didn't to bring him here? Mind you, this office investigated a former president. The former president was served at the time with the same kind of directive to appear before the OSP. We didn't have to be chasing the former president around the world. How much less a former minister of finance? What is so special about Mr. Ofori-Atta that he thinks he's unique and should be treated like a king? The principle of lifestyle audit, non-conviction-based asset recovery should be stamped in the Constitution to encompass public officers, politically exposed persons, and persons in the private sector suspected of having engaged or engaging in corruption and corruption-related activities, on the reckoning that the person must have legitimate sources of income sufficient to justify the interest in any property that that person holds. Therefore, where a person's resources far outstrip his legitimate income, the unexplained portion should be liable to confiscation. This will be a critical tool also to detect fraud and undeclared income for tax purposes. Thus, conviction after criminal proceedings should not be a condition precedent for asset recovery purposes. That is, proceedings on an application for a confiscation order or a restraint order should be civil and not criminal. And I'm coming to disappoint some of you. I do not, and I will not add my voice to calls for the publication of assets for public scrutiny. In our experience, it will be unhelpful and would merely subject public officers to inordinate public curiosity and the specter of the real likelihood of reprisals against their assets. In my estimation, a publication of who has declared or has not declared his assets in the context of a workable asset verification and tracing model would be sufficient to assure the integrity of the asset declaration system. On another score, I dare say corruption begins where values collapse. That is why integrity must be designed into our educational system.
The special prosecutor says he will not add his voice to the calls for the publication of the details of assets declared by public officials. So that particular position sort of has generated some conversation, as a matter of fact. Now, this morning we will get into it because many who do not agree with that particular position as espoused by the special prosecutor yesterday. He has been busy. I'm talking about the special prosecutor this week. Earlier this week, he redeclared Kenneth Nanaya Oforiatta, the former finance minister of the Republic of Ghana, a wanted man and a fugitive from justice. Well, before the week would end, Interpol has agreed and, as a matter of fact, listed Ken Oforiatta on its red list upon the request of the special prosecutor to answer to alleged criminal offenses made against him by the special prosecutor. Now, we would show you exactly what Interpol says or has put there on its red notice. The location and provisional arrest of Ken Oforiatta, the exact charge on that Interpol red notice. Stay with us this morning. So after this Interpol red notice has been published, then what next? That's the question that we would have some lawyers who are joining us this morning help us get an understanding to it. Does he have a case of he not being well, as his lawyers have been contending this week, that we know his latest medical condition, that he has prostate cancer? What does this mean going forward? It's a conversation that we would have this morning. President John Dramani Mahama has officially signed into law the Energy Sector Levy Amendment Act. Well, adding some 1 Ghana cedi to the cost of fuel that we would buy. It's an indirect tax that many have raised fundamental questions about as to whether, from the consumer's perspective, it should be a burden that we should be sharing to address the problems in the energy sector, or government should be a lot more into addressing the inefficiencies and also the losses within the sector as a result of corruption, procurement breaches, and so on, as we have seen, specifically with ECG. We'll have a conversation this morning. Is it a burden that you and I, consumers, Ghanaians watching us this morning, worth sharing? That's a question we will ask, and we'll have some energy analysts and then also members of parliament who sat in parliament, passed this particular bill under a certificate of emergency. And why is that? We will be finding out. As always, we're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London and the Voice of London TV. My name is Alfred Ocansey. Welcome. This is Key Point. Here, we talk about key issues of concern to you, the Ghanaian people. Together with our guests, we go straight to the point. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
challenges in the energy sector are quite enormous, emanating from debt, shortfalls, insufficient gas, and inefficiencies. The total energy sector debt as at end March 2025 stands at $3.1 billion. Right, Honorable Speaker, to help raise additional revenue to fund the needs in the power sector, the government is proposing an increase in export price of petrol, diesel, and related products. The impact will be absorbed by the gains made from the strong performance of the Ghana cedis, and this will mean that consumers will not have to pay extra for the price of petrol and diesel beginning today. Our simulations suggest that there will be no increase in the export price of petrol and diesel in the next window beginning today if the levy is imposed. This is because of a strong Ghana cedi. The decision to impose a levy on petroleum prices is based on the need to find a balance between ensuring stable power supply while promoting the financial sustainability of the sector.
Mr. Speaker, it is only important that we engage and you let us know. You come with your justification. You came here to present your budget. You presented your budget saying you are not going to introduce new taxes, new levies. Then you turn around, you say you are repealing e-levy. You are all over the place. Now you are bringing back e-levy. And then you say that the Ghanaian public will not feel it. Mr. Speaker, you repeal e-levy, reintroduce e-levy. That's what you are doing. What are you? This is the e-levy. You have introduced e-levy. Then you say that you run it through certificate of agency. Mr. Speaker,
Honourable members,
the e-levy being introduced.
Honourable members, this is a house of record.
What is it?
Honourable members, this is a house of record. The bill introduced, which I have just referred, is Energy Sector Levies Bill.
It is e-levy.
So this is not electronic levy.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, allow the minority to have its say.
The greatest existential threat to fiscal consolidation and macroeconomic stability. Our energy sector carries a debt burden of over $3.1 billion US dollars, with an estimated $1.8 billion US dollars more required to finance fuel procurements for uninterrupted thermal power generation in the coming months. If left unaddressed, this situation significantly threatens national productivity and industrial growth. While we have devised a strategy to liquidate this debt and staunch the bleeding in the power sector, we must take advantage of recent gains created by appreciation in the value of our currency to accelerate the solution to our energy sector challenges. In line with the dialogue's recommendation to boldly tackle the crisis in the energy sector, Parliament yesterday approved an amendment to the Energy Sector Levies Act and the Certificate of Agency, introducing a 1 cedi, Ghana cedi, increase in the energy sector recovery levy. This decision, though difficult, is necessary and justifiable. The additional revenue projected is 5.7 billion cedis annually. This revenue will be strictly ring-fenced to pay down legacy energy debt, finance ongoing fuel purchase, and avert the risk of recurring power shortages. Funds from this levy will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. And the minister is here. I know when money falls into the consolidated fund, it faces certain hazards. It will not be subject to the hazards of the consolidated fund. The fund will be regularly audited and audit reports made public to ensure its transparent use. While initially much of this revenue will go into the purchase of fuel to ensure stable supply of electricity, with the ongoing developments in the upstream sector.
Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the city of London as well. Now, that's the President, John Dramani Mahama, making that appeal and explaining why this levy is necessary. But the concerns of the people also have to be brought to the fore as to why this burden sharing to pay the energy sector debt is necessary? And if not, what were the alternatives government could have explored other than this particular levy that is going to now slap another 1 cedi on the fuel? And I'm going to show you the details of some taxes and levies already on a liter of petrol or diesel that you buy in this country. But joining me in the studio right now is Richmond Roxon. He speaks for the Energy Ministry, the Ministry of Energy. They are the custodians of this particular levy. It's just, and through the Finance Ministry, they got it under a certificate of emergency in Parliament. We'll be finding out as well from Nelson Roxon Dafiamekpo when he joins us why this was presented under the certificate of emergency. But Mr. Roxon, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning to you and good morning to your cherished viewers, and happy to be here.
Good. Welcome Kwame Jantua. He is a private legal practitioner, but he is also the chair of the energy sector and the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI. He's an energy analyst as well. Mr. Jantua, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
It's good to have you.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Martin Pebo is private legal practitioner. He is leader of the Kumbreko-related demonstration and also a member of the Operation Recover All Loot Oral Preparatory Team. Oral has been in the news this week for a number of reasons. A number of people calling for speedy execution of the details of the investigations, some of the cases that you looked into as well. Council, good morning. Welcome.
Morning, Mr. Ocansey. It's good to be here.
Indeed.
Ghana's #1 show, right?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, we are thankful to the people of Ghana for making it the #1 show. As usual, let's do the rituals, right? Yeah, it's very important because our society needs to be reminded constantly so that we can move forward. Once again, we want to thank Gamanche Kintaki Teku through the second, right? The man leading the charges against the recovery, or leading the charges for the recovery of the Cecilia Dapa money. And at least this week there's been good news. The special prosecutor says Mr. Raymond Nacha has asked for the file.
Yes.
Cecilia Dapa's docket. That's good. So that's what we're talking about. We are also in court pressing because we sued Iyoko and the Attorney General for this very matter that Iyoko can do it. Because Godfrey Dami had written a false opinion saying that they can't do such money laundering without a predicate offense. Meanwhile, the law is very clear that you don't need predicate, meaning that if you see somebody with money, if you say money laundering, what crime did the person commit to get that plenty money before using it for the legitimate purpose? That's what we mean by the predicate offense. In simple terms, when somebody does, let's say, cocaine to set up a boutique or a factory, Godfrey Dami is saying that you should first be able to establish that it was cocaine or armed robbery or murder that the person did before getting the money to set up the factory. Now we don't need it. The main thing is that if we find you with a factory and we see that this factory, this car is beyond your means and you cannot justify, that's money laundering. We don't need to go and establish, did you get this factory, this car, this plenty money through murder, etc. Okay, yeah, so that's it.
It's important you make that reference because let's hear the special prosecutor this week at that press conference on the Cecilia Dapa, specifically what you just referenced.
Yes.
Let's hear him.
Cecilia Dapa, when in May 2024, the then head of Iyoko returned the docket back to the OSP. The OSP didn't comment, did it? We didn't express an opinion as to whether we agreed with its conclusion or otherwise, or as to whether we agreed with the Attorney General then. We had investigated the matter. We had hit a wall in terms of our mandate. We were seeing things that looked like in the province of Iyoko's mandate. So we sent the docket to Iyoko under a referral, under provisions under our act, for them to go to court because we didn't think the docket was ready for prosecution. What we suggested is do your own investigation, commence your own investigation to see if you will see conclusions of what we think we are seeing. They returned it to us wholly and said we didn't have any basis upon which to commence investigation. Now, a year later, there's a new leadership. A new leadership has requested for the docket that they want to review and commence investigation. So we've given it back to Yoko under the new leadership, and we have promised them our full collaborative support and partnership in respect of their review and investigation. Shouldn't you be happy that someone wants to take action and not someone who just closes a file and says, I can't even open up to investigate?
Well, that's Kisie Jabeng there. So says that the new leadership of Yoko under Remonacha said they want the docket, they want to review it and commence investigation into the Cecilia Adapa matter. Refreshing, you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It's open and shut. When you look at the law, even the memo, we came and read the memo here some months ago, where they say we are moving away from the requirement of a predicate offense. First, show me what crime the person committed to get the money. Who wants to do that? The UK changed their law since 2002. 2002, over 23 years ago. And then we have recently copied, and then somebody wants to take us back. So it was all part of the cover-up. Don't forget, when Cecilia Adapa was involved in another contract that he didn't seek Attorney General's opinion, etc., the Attorney General covered it up. Covered him up, didn't sue, didn't reveal to the Ghanaian public. So it tells you that it was all a cover-up. Thank God we changed that.
Is it that particular one you reference? I think it's consistently you brought it up with the
Yes.
Is it one that you probably will pick up or you intend to pick up if this special prosecutor, for instance, is not interested in it or the Attorney General doesn't look into it? That second contract that you talk about.
Yes.
Yes. One that in your capacity as a lawyer, private citizen, you pick it up?
Thankfully, Dr. Ayini is on it. Yes. The last time I saw, I heard that they are working on it. So, Vincent Kwagbenu, the Chief Executive of the Community Water and Sanitation Agency, he won't let Ayini sleep. Kwagbenu is a tough guy. No. He was livid. I remember. He looked at it. He was like, what is this? What is this? Our money is gone. Our money is gone. Over 30 million Ghana. It's about 40 million Ghana that was paid. Gone. We'll have to recover that money. You see, when you did the interview, Godfrey Dame said the new Attorney General can take it up. Is that an answer? When the thing was before you, at least a year before, and then you sat down, kukwasa, and left. It wasn't just even sat down. It was an active cover-up because I'm sure Godfrey Dame knows that the people of Ghana would want to know, but he didn't want to reveal it. Okay, so let's go on to Domahini Osiadeyo Ajimambedu II. Domahini, good morning. Yes, you stood tall when people feared to talk. You didn't mind that you were a chief and a justice of the High Court. Yes, you spoke against Akufo-Addo's bad governance and will forever be grateful. The same goes for Togbe Afede. Yes, the paramount chief of the Asogli State. We are very grateful, Togbe. Yeah, Togbe even returned certain allowances because he felt that the Ghanaian people were suffering, and so he, with his privilege, he didn't think that he should take certain allowances as Council of State member. So Togbe, we are grateful, right? And of course, once again, we are asking Johnson Ekwuamwa Esiedu the report on the 52.5 billion, the report on the missing 52.5 billion that moved from GCB to unknown accounts. This money must be found. What we borrowed from the IMF is way less. If you look at the time, that's 2020. Yeah. 52.5 billion. As I say, ask for, look, very soon maybe I'll do a petition for Esiedu's removal. Yes. He was the one who was given a contract when he hadn't even performed well. Demlevo, who was doing well, Akufo-Addo was quick to sack him because Demlevo would catch Akufo-Addo and Osafo Marfo in the cruel associates matter, right? We shouldn't reward Esiedu like that, the Auditor General. He should be going quickly, that we'll have somebody who will do the work well. You promised one report from December 2020. This June 2025. You can't produce a report. Also another cover-up, Anyway, and then finally, let's support the Nkukon Kitin project. Yes, the government
policy. Poultry now?
Yes,
You're considering it?
I have a lot of my friends preparing to go in, right? So okay. I support them. I will not mention that, but let the youth also join. Let a lot of people join because it's sometimes it's so shameful that we have a lot of arable land and we are hungry as a people.
Indeed.
We have a lot of arable lands and we are still hungry. Food insecurity is a big problem in Ghana. So let's, help to, feed ourselves. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you for this. Thank you very much for that. And then also, let me welcome Professor Godfrey Bobking. He is a professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. He's going to be joining us in a minute. Also, Dr. Riverson is the CEO of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies. That's the OMCs. And when it comes to the execution in terms of the collection of this levy, they're the ones, this responsibility falls directly on their laps. So he's going to be joining us in a bit. And as to whether the finance minister's position that this levy would not reflect immediately at the pumps is one that they corroborate. It's one that they agree with. We'll get into it shortly. But while we're at it this week, after this bill was presented and the Certificate of Emergency Parliament passed it in the evening, and then the next day we woke up to it, the president assented to it with an appeal that this is necessary. It's a necessary but bitter pill that had to be swallowed so as to save the energy sector from the situation that it finds itself now. I'm going to paint that picture to you in a bit, and we'll get into the matters. But this is what the president said during the signing of this levy, in fact, the accenting of this levy, so as to now operationalize it. We're waiting for the execution details and operationalization by the Ghana Revenue Authority to know exactly how this will go and when it's going to be applicable. But this is what happened 2 days ago. Take a look.
I have the Energy Sector Levy Amendment Act 2025. The energy sector debt has been the Achilles heel of our economic growth and sustainability for many years, and there have been many attempts to try to resolve it. From the time of the toll levy to the Energy Sector Levy Act (ESLA), today we're signing the Energy Sector Levy Amendment Act. All this in a view to trying to eliminate the energy sector debts and stop the crisis in the energy sector and create an energy sector that delivers lower tariffs and better service to our people. I wish to pledge to the Ghanaian people that we are determined to solve this energy sector crisis once and for all and resolve the issue of the energy sector debt. With the recent performance of the Ghanaian economy, we have seen a drop in the price of petroleum products. I want to thank the transport unions and the drivers for their cooperation in passing on the savings to the Ghanaian people. Since then, the petroleum prices have dropped further at the pump. We believe that it will be a useful use of the extra savings that has occurred to try and pay down the energy sector debt and also pay for the expensive liquid fuel that we use to generate power. The fuel component of power generation is not captured in the tariff. And my understanding is that if we capture the full cost of the fuel component, it will lead tariffs to go up by 50%. But our current trajectory is not sustainable. We are determined to achieve macroeconomic stability, have a strong currency, low inflation, but to do that, we must make sure that the energy sector does not destabilize the economy, the gains we've made with the economy. And that is why, though painful it is to sign this, I'm enjoying as your president. I was appointed not only to take soft decisions and easy decisions, but also to take hard decisions.
Well, the president talks about the hard decision, and the citizens are also looking at the burden that is already on the liter of petrol or diesel that you already buy. A number of taxes, levies, and margins already on the liter of petrol or diesel that you buy. And that is what citizens are looking at. The reason why it's already raised these concerns that we have seen as to the attendant hardship or the increasing cost of living that this levy will bring. This is it. Here's what we do know, which is the list of taxes, levies, and margins already on the letter of petrol or diesel that you buy. Energy debt recovery levy, road fund levy, energy fund levy, price stabilization recovery levy, sanitation and pollution levy, energy sector recovery levy you see there. Also, the special petroleum taxes. This is a tax that the likes of Kwame Jantua and others have been advocating that this should have been off our books a very long time ago. In fact, a number of the taxes I've just run through and the levies had some sunset clause. It should have been off our books, but it's still there. ESLA, for instance, the one that I mentioned earlier, this first one was supposed to be 5 years, but it's been almost 10 years. ESLA is still on our books. It's been amended now and increased. We have an additional 1 CD on it. As to why that's the case is a question that we'll be finding out from the Energy Ministry. We have represented here on the table. Well, the primary distribution margin, bust margin, fuel market margin, marketers margin, dealers, that's a retailers and operators margin. All of these are already on a liter of petrol or diesel that you buy. Now, the fundamental question is, with all these taxes and levies and margins, which constitute almost about 30%, 35% of the liter, the cost of the liter of petrol or diesel that you buy, then we have this additional 1 CD. This is the consequence of this 1 CD that is going to be applied. Now, the old rate of this particular levy was 95 pesos. It's going to be increased by additional 1 CD. The new rate you see there is what's going to be applicable if the Ghana Revenue Authority begins to apply this levy, and then the OMCs will be charged with the responsibility of collecting this. So if all things being equal, obviously it's going to impact on the price of petrol and diesel at the pumps. But the only one that is exempted as far as we see is LPG. But then again, the finance minister says that in the immediate term, this would not be felt. The OMCs think otherwise. As to what the finance minister means, we'll get into that as well, because the man who supervised the entire process of approval in Parliament under a certificate of emergency is here with us. He's a ranking, in fact, on the majority side. And these are the various components that influence the pricing of petroleum products at the pumps in this country. Price of crude oil on the world market. That one we don't have control over. Price of crude oil on the world market is trending upwards as we speak. So then, as it's going up, what happens? The exchange rate is favoring us now. The city is doing well. The taxes and levies we're going to see going up by this 1 CD. The finance minister says this is necessary, as the president has also been talking about, to address the growing shortfalls in the energy sector and reduce the legacy debt owed to independent power producers, state-owned enterprises, fuel suppliers. This is it. $3.1 billion. That is the total sector debt as we have it. This research put together by a research desk, Wisdom Safo and the team, 3.1 billion and over. This is excluding the cost of fuel. Now, bear in mind that with our power generation mix, 70% of our power generation mix is thermal. We have a number of IPPs, independent power producers, who are producing power through thermal plants, Asogli, Car Power. A number of them are owed over $1.75 billion. That is another debt we owe the independent power producers. We need $1.2 billion and over this year to buy fuel to power the thermal plants, or else doomsday is coming. This is the picture. So then, what happens? This is how much we owe the IPPs, the legacy debts that we're having to pay SOEs and then also fuel suppliers. These are the independent power producers we're talking about. Car Power, Senate, AXA, Sempower, Amandi, and Senona Sogli. We owe all of them. We're still negotiating to pay. Beyond that, if we don't get fuel, we're also going to have to deal with the problem as we have it. The projected revenue to be generated from this levy, according to the president, is some 5.7 billion cedis annually. Is this a burden worth sharing? or a bitter pill worth swallowing based on the picture I have just showed you, as against the impact that this would have on the cost of fuel? Let me welcome Nelson Roxton Dafiamekpo as well. He is the majority chief whip in this 9th parliament. He whipped his people to pass this under a certificate of emergency. Good morning. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
And member of parliament for the South Dike constituency as well.
Good morning, colleagues.
Good
morning to my constituency, Peki Pali Pevetombo. Yes.
Thank you. Professor Godfrey Bokken is a professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. He's joining us as well. Prof, good morning. Welcome.
To our cherished listeners and viewers, and honorable and the other co-panelists, good morning.
Thank you very much. Is it a bitter pill worth swallowing, based on what I have just showed you and the concerns of the people as well?
Good morning to our viewers and good morning to my fellow panelists. Do we have a debt?
Yes, we do.
All the things you have said, we have a debt, isn't it? Mm-hmm. How do we pay that debt? If this was your own private business in terms of your family and you owe the debt, would you not sit with your wife and children and say, we've got to sell the car because we have a huge debt to pay? The car that takes you to school, the car that takes us everywhere, unfortunately we have to sell it because we don't have enough funds to be able to pay our debts. For me, as difficult as it is, it's a necessary evil.
It's a necessary evil?
Yes, a necessary evil. Remember, it's not only one political party that has created this debt. This debt runs through this Fourth Republic. And yes, political parties that have come in this latter period have increased that debt. And we cannot continue to sit in debt, especially with a sector like the energy sector. The energy sector is the blood of every economy today. Without the energy sector, there is no country. We experienced doomsday, didn't we? Mm-hmm. For how many years? In fact, through this Fourth Republic, we've experienced doomsday all through. Some businesses have collapsed because of that. Some people haven't had the chance to even start doing their business. Hospitals, people have died. And so, for me, it's a necessary evil. However, I would have thought certain things would be put in place before, certain explanations would be given before being told of the 1 cedi. Where do we stand today with ESLA? I would have liked the finance minister to go into ESLA in detail as to the mortgaging of it, as to how much money is in there, as to what would be added, what would be subtracted. I expected him to say something about that. I expected him to also look at the nominees of the president.
Why?
Do they buy fuel?
Well,
we say everybody should share, right? Mm-hmm. So sharing, everybody should be part and parcel of that sharing to clear this debt. The nominees of the president, do they buy fuel? Well, how do they get their fuel? Do they buy fuel with their own money, or do they buy fuel through what? Coupons. How do we get them on board also? I share, we are sharing. Whatever debt it is, we all have to share. Mm-hmm. So some shouldn't be able to use government, inverted commas, begin and close, to get fuel and not be part of that sharing. Let's be mindful. And the finance minister actually indicated during his presentation that this is predicated on a strong cedi. Mm-hmm. And we know if it happens that the city depreciates, it affects the 1 cedi. True or false?
True.
So how do we make sure that this 1 cedi, the cedi would always appreciate? How do we make sure? because that is the responsibility of government.
And if you look at this, the three components that influences the pricing, that's relatively one of two that is within our control, right? The currency, the exchange rate, and then the taxes and levies. But for the price of crude oil on the world market, we can't do anything about it.
Yes.
As it's trending upwards, as we're saying now.
Yes, yes. The price of crude on the world market, ex-pump prices, and the rising of the dollar, there are some international factors that we cannot do anything about. How do we cushion that particular situation? Because we don't want a 1 cedi that falls to 80 pesos, that falls to 50 pesos, and then we are struggling to make it up. Apart from that, how long is this particular levy going to stay on the books till? I think it's important that the finance minister makes us know. Is it going to be a levy that is going to be there for like kingdom come, like the COVID levy? Or is it going to be for a certain duration of time? Once we pay the debt and probably have some buffer, Ghanaians stop paying the 1 cedi. I think we need clarification on that. Again, the cash waterfall mechanism is very, very important. The president tells us that this particular 1 cedi is going to cover everything. For me, the first point of call is the cash waterfall mechanism. I believe the cash waterfall mechanism is a good mechanism to pay IPPs, to pay debts. It has to be structured in such a way that we don't go through the challenges that we've been through with the cash waterfall mechanism, especially political influence. It's a good thing to hear when the president says this money is not going to go into the consolidated fund. It's going to go direct, and it has to be targeted directly to the energy sector. The moment it is diverted into anything else, is going to affect us. I expect there to be transparency and accountability on a continuous basis as to how the money is being used, so that Ghanaians are appraised of how we are paying down the debt of the IPPs and generally everything. The one thing that hasn't come into focus a lot is NETCO. The debts at NETCO too are huge. I believe this also covers NETCO. But
they're not in electricity.
Yes, but I want a situation where there's openness, there's transparency, there is constant advising the general public as to how the debts are being brought down. I think that is very, very important. I'm not sure whether going forward, and I'm sure Roxanne or my good brother here, the former Paul, will be able to tell us, whether in the next tariff window, we are going to see how we now include this particular situation in a tariff, if it's going to be possible. But most of all, you know, one of the major challenges that has caused this particular situation is the fact that we haven't done exploration to production in 8 years. We have stranded gas. The gas that President Atta Mills rightly put to Ghana's use in terms of using it as a feedstock to generate electricity. It's stranded. We need to be able to start offshore production quickly to be able to do what? Get that stranded gas out of the ground. I think it's a good idea that the president is talking about another gas infrastructure. Where that gas infrastructure should be situated, for me, is Accra Basin. Because you see, a lot of our oil and gas is more to the east than the west. The Volta area, the Voltaire Basin, the Keta Basin, not the Voltaire Basin, the Keta Basin, the Accra Basin, the Sopon Basin. A lot of our oil is in there, and a lot of the gas, especially in the Sopon Basin, is there. We cannot start tapping the gas and then pipe it to Ituabo. It will be too costly.
So now we are flaring gas.
So yes, we are flaring gas. We have no flaring policy, but we are flaring gas. We need to be able to build this new infrastructure so that we can now power our gas through there. Look, with gas, if we did exploration to production in the last 8 years, even if we had 2 more oil fields, one non-associated, one associated, we would have enough fuel to bring this burden down. Very, very important. Most importantly, we need to look at renewables. Where does renewables play in this entire mix? How are we going to handle renewables? For some of us, we should have a policy whereby residential is taking over renewables. We should have a policy where it states every new building in this country should have a solar panel. What does that mean? Government should work towards bringing solar panels down, the cost of solar panels down. Government should work towards manufacturing solar panels in Ghana. Government should work towards taking the taxes, the major taxes on solar panels off, so that a lot of people would be able to. Can you imagine our hospitals, if they had solar panels, will they have challenges with surgery? I don't think so. I don't think so. So we need to look at that mix and how we put it in the mix of electricity, because we do need it. I dare say, and Roxanne will be able to tell me, or will be able to corroborate whether what I'm saying is true. If the aluminium smelter, what is it called? Valco, if it is switched on today, we can get into Dumso because of the kind of power that it requires. If we are able to expand renewables on a large scale, and it will take time, it's a gradual basis, but we need to be able to start renewables with our schools, with our hospitals, with hotels, with government buildings. We need to start that process. But renewables won't be able to move the kind of industry we are looking at. However, it would help. The nuclear question also comes into focus. Where do we stand now with nuclear? So I'm looking at a situation where this one CD opens up the Pandora's box to look at the mix in terms of energy going forward. Because I understand that by 2030, the nuclear thing should start taking off. If it takes off, it will be good. However, we need the energy for different areas. Population is growing. People are building houses. Businesses are coming on stream. The West African gas pipeline is being expanded into other countries. So you can see the prosperity that this country, the potential of prosperity this country can achieve if we have energy that is.
But if you listen to the concerns of citizens about the impact that this levy would have and how it impacts on the cost of living as well. And I know, AGI, this is an area that you've been looking into in terms of research as well. Is it one that has to be considered? And also, in talking about how necessary this is, balance it out with what the people are talking about as to how this would impact on the cost of living.
Alfred, it would be great to consider it. But you have a debt of 80 billion cedis. $3.1 billion. Yesterday, you heard the MD of Cocoa Board. What's the debt there? 33 billion. The debt seems to be drowning us. So let's clear the debt. Yes, it could bring little hardship on some people. However,
on all of us.
It is.
This is an indirect tax that.
Not on all of us. Not on all of us. Why do I say not on all of us?
Why do you say?
I say not on all of us because government appointees will not feel the pressure the way we are feeling the pressure.
Because they use fuel coupons.
Well, they have coupons. And when you look at the cost build-up, the one that you just talked about, the only one in there that this applies to is the energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy. That's the only one. Which now brings it up to 1 CD 95
pesos.
So if we are paying an additional 1 CD to get light, wouldn't everybody want that? But do you know the kind of psychological effect it gets when you drive home? You drive into your area and everywhere is dark. And it's a cost. It's a cost to individuals because you've done your weekly shopping. You've cooked food, put in your freezer. There's no electricity to keep it. Is that what you think Ghanaians would want? But so I think Ghanaians would sacrifice for this particular levy. However, we should know when it is ending.
the sunset clause.
Yes.
We don't find that, Ms. Roxanne, this is a levy that emanates from your ministry. Is there a sunset clause in this? When is this amended levy supposed to be off our books? Because ESLA was supposed to be 5 years. You introduced it in 2016, January. All things being equal, should have been off our books in 2021. Almost 10 years on, we are still paying for ESLA. When is this going to be off?
Are we not still paying for Todet?
We are.
Alfred, good morning.
Morning.
And good morning to my learned friends. Yeah. Fortunately, we are all lawyers. I don't know whether it was deliberate.
The lawyers keep quiet.
But good morning to my seniors here. And then thank you for being here. Alfred, you're right. There's no sunset clause in
Why?
Because the focus is not to have a sunset clause. The focus is to deal with the challenges in the energy sector. Like you rightly mentioned, in 2015, when ESLA was passed, there was a sunset clause of 5 years. You had a new administration. In 2016, if you look at the books of ESLA, you had the administration at the time applying the funds for its intended purpose. From 2017 all the way to 2024, portions of ESLA were diverted into other funds. In fact, in 2017, thereabouts, even a part of that money was used to settle pensions. So we, at the ministry, does not think that the focus should be on a specific date, that 5 years, 2 years, but the focus should be on dealing with all the challenges in the energy sector. And that is what the ministry is doing now. If you look at the urgency of passing the bill, every year we spend an average of $1.2 billion on liquid fuels. If you look at our energy mix now, it's largely thermal. Thermal constitutes about 70%.
Indeed, but before we get into all that detail, you're saying the reason why there's no sunset clause or when this is supposed to be off our books is because we want to focus on the task at hand, clear the debt. But we have seen in instances where there's a sunset clause, even that sunset clause is violated and thrown out. Is this not prone to abuse? That you don't put a sunset clause to as to when this levy is supposed to last and when it's supposed to be off our books. You leave it open. How are we sure that the next administration, because John Mahama has 4 years,
yes,
how are we sure that this is not also going to be subject to another abuse with an explanation that it is necessary to do A, B, and C?
No, Alfred, I'll go back to the commitment of the president and the sector minister. In 2015, when it was passed, because the president knew the challenges at the time, he ensured that the funds were channeled into what they were meant for. That is the track record of the president and then the energy minister at the time. What is going to happen will be the same commitment. And this time, the president has gone a step further to say that the people of Ghana should be updated consistently on the use of the funds. The fund should be audited from time to time to be able to do what? To ensure that the funds are used for the purpose. It shouldn't be a situation where the funds come in and then it's diverted. And the president has also said that the fund will not be a victim of what happens with the consolidated fund, where any money that goes in, the finance ministry decides to use it for what it wants. But this time it will be channeled into it to ensure that we have a robust power sector. Alfred, the energy sector is very, very challenged. This administration inherited a very difficult energy sector. In fact, let me focus on the power sector because this is what is applies. You have a power sector that is indebted to about 80 billion Ghana cedis. You have a power sector that owes the private sector, the IPPs, by over 1.75 billion United States dollars. You have a sector that because of the energy mix, you are spending averagely $1.2 billion on liquid fuels alone. And thank God we have natural gas. If we didn't have natural gas, it would have been worse. Because we've had a trouble from 2011 to date, it has come to support the fuels that we need for thermal plants. And beyond that, you have inefficiencies that have been recorded in the sector. ECG's difficulties, you have NETCO's difficulties as well. You also have a very difficult distribution lines. In fact, the government is, for 2 years, and if you speak to the engineers at ECG, they will tell you that major maintenance works were not done.
Why?
Because of funding issues. They will not put that
ECG
out.
didn't have money?
I'm telling you.
ECG.
In fact, the ECG will have money, and we'll come to that point. The ECG may have collected the revenues, but what were they using the revenues for? That's another conversation altogether. For example, if you have, in 2023, you have a budget of 900 million, and you end up procuring 8.3 billion, definitely you're not using the revenues that are coming for relevant things. If you have 2024, if you have a budget of 1.2, and then you end up spending over 8 billion, you run into the challenges that you have. So for 2 years alone, you had a budget of 2 billion, and you end up spending over 16 billion. These are some of the challenges that the Minister for Energy has decided to address. That address all the challenges heads on, deal with the fuel issues that you have, try and get more gas from ENI, from Talu, from Nigeria, put together a new gas infrastructure fund, the gas infrastructure, that is the gas processing plant 2, which at the end of the day will reduce your cost. Address all the bottlenecks that you have, for example, procurement challenges. And then once you get to that point, you'll be able to review this levy. And that is that's why there was no sunset clause. So for me, these are...
I see. But you know, let me bring in Lamati Bebo on this, because unless does that explanation suffice for you, Mr. Shelton, very quickly, why there's no sunset clause? Quick one, and then I'll bring in Lamati Bebo.
I believe, yes, they are debts, but it depends on how the money is going to be used once everything is paid off. I tend to understand the bit of buying fuel. If we haven't been able to get more oil fields working and get gas out, then it means we will still have to buy fuel as feedstock. And you know, it takes quite some time from exploration to production. However, having said that, the responsibility is to make sure that the CD stays strong. Because the moment the CD drops, that one CD is also going to drop.
Indeed.
How do we cushion it? So we should be able to have some mechanics in place. In case the CD drops, it can be cushioned. We know where to go to. You know, next year, the two funds that we have for the oil one, the is it stabilization, and then the one that we put abroad, what is it called? Is it Heritage? Heritage Fund is due in 2026. The 15 years is due in 2026. We are supposed to use only the interest from the Heritage Fund. I think it's time government tells us what we're going to use that money for. And not wait for it to come. We don't hear anything about it, and then it's pushed into something else. We can start planning for that money. I think there's over what, $1 billion in there, or is it a billion? Yeah, $1 billion in there. We should be able to plan how we're going to use that money, whether it's going to go into infrastructure, whether it's going to pay debt, but hopefully it's not going to be used for consumption. I think that particular bit we should start that discussion, so that at least we know if it's going to cushion some of the things we are doing, let's see how it's going to cushion it. Because definitely we would need to cushion this particular one city, because some of the things we have no control over.
No, I'll bring Professor Bokwin in a bit, but you gauge the concerns and the reactions that have been coming through, at least from Tuesday to now, GPRTU being the latest, that they would go on a sit down. I'm sure you read that by Tuesday, if their concerns are not taken into consideration, and this levy taking off the one city. But then again, you hear Richmond Roxton talk about ECG not having money. And so they didn't go on a conduct maintenance for 2 years. Citizens are looking at the inefficiencies in ECG's own administration, the corruption, and then also the losses that they keep posting on a yearly basis, and it's increasing. And not much being done to address that. Not many people, in fact, there's nobody who's been punished so far for the corruption that is said to be within ECG. And then now, citizens also being called to burden share in paying for the loss of ECG and others as a result of some of these practices that have gone unpunished so far? Do the citizens have concerns that could be considered in here?
Oh, absolutely. Citizens have concerns, right? Yes, they do. And it would be very strange if citizens didn't raise concerns, right? But basically, if you put everything together, this is a tax that we must support. Yes, we must support. I'll break down the reasons. And of course, before I go to breaking down the reasons, we haven't welcomed you back from South Africa, the G20 summit preparation that you attended, right?
Indeed.
Journalists preparing. It's good. It's good. When they come, when you go back for the actual summit, we hope that you ask the developed countries why they can't help us more. Because I think that this one, they're on our necks. They should give us better terms of trade, better loans, far less interest, etc. Because they owe us a lot. They owe us a lot. They developed, especially when you look at UK and Britain, through slavery. It's our sweat and toil they used to develop. So now if we are what, they should do a lot more than they are currently doing.
Thank you very much.
Right. Yes. Okay. Now, so looking at it, you see, this particular, yes, ECG has all of its faults. We know. A few months ago, we're here saying that cost of living is high, cost of living is high. Yes, it's still high, right? Mm-hmm. It's still high. But the difference is that at least now with the strengthening of the cedi, prices are coming down, right? Mm. Prices are coming down. And so you see that the strengthening of the cedi, in a sense, is a windfall. So it's a windfall for us. So naturally, every government will want to cash in on the windfall. Yeah. So if we came from about 17 Ghana cedis per liter to now somewhere, if diesel, we are looking at 12 cedis, 39 pesos, between that and 12 cedis, 49 pesos, depending on which filling station.
Some are even doing 11.
Some are doing 11. So you see that it's come down massively, substantial reduction. So based on that, I am fully with the government that we do the 1 cedi extra so that we can solve the problem. Because you see, it's not everything. There's never time to talk about all of this.
That's
you
true.
see, but one thing we all cannot run away from is that we know that there is a debt crisis when it comes to the energy sector. I know there have been concerns about what did we use ESLA for, blah, blah, blah. You see, so sometimes the way they communicate, they will tell us that if you want to see what we use the ESLA money for, go to the Ministry of Finance, their website, and look for it. How many of us have time to Google there? So I'm happy the president said there will be regular audits, etc. So when they audit and do those things, pay and put that on TV. Don't go and put it on a website. No, few Ghanaians will go there. Then social media has. So Mr. Roxy, though you're a lawyer, but also a PR person. Yeah, so when you get the information, look for us on social media. Bring it to our doorstep. Don't tell us that we should go to the Ministry of Finance website and look for the ESLA account. No, you should find out where are Ghanaians likely to find the information easily. I think that's what we are suffering. So, and I should think that you would have known that once you say you want to increase taxes, the first things Ghanaians will ask is, what did we do with the previous one? So even before then, maybe we should have had some education. Once the government knew that it was going to ask for more taxes, you should have had some education. You see, bring out ESLA, this, you see, then you kind of sensitize us ahead. But where the tax is just taken to Parliament and the certificate of emergency, then it's passed, then you see that people begin to resent the process, etc. But truth be told, the tax is necessary. But the key thing is, like we keep saying, what are we using it for? And a lot of the what are we using it for, it's because we've not been informed. And it's no answer to tell us that it's on a certain ministry's website. No, very few of us will go there. So look for how to bring the information to our doorstep so that we'll follow. Because, of course, having followed, I've seen that they say it was used to pay a lot of the FX losses, right, to the BDCs. That's the bulk distribution companies. They are the ones that import a lot of the oil, right? And then a lot of it was used, that's the downstream, so MPA. So it was, a lot of the money was used to solve those MPA debts, the BDCs, etc. I remember those days, Senor Hosea and Co., they were on it. So bring the information to our doorstep. And I agree with Ms. Senior Jantua. You see, it's all about when the people in government don't appear to pay the same or feel it, then we down here begin to resent more taxes. So you see that there is that part. When you follow social media, people are saying, but why are the ministers also not paying? Yes, so that's part of our governance. I've followed it a lot. You see, there are a lot of the people I've interacted with and those I've read on social media, their attention is on ministers who don't have to buy fuel. It's like, why? We have to pay. You don't have to pay. So perhaps the president should look at it. What we can do is a democracy, because there's still a lot of goodwill. There's still a lot of goodwill, but let's not forget that people generally, the downtrodden generally, have a lot of distrust for our politicians. So what more can we do? What more can we do? Because we are in private sector, we are buying the fuel by ourselves. But once you are in public sector, you come and then, everything is laid out for you. So we don't see the sacrifice. That's the thing. I mean, we don't see the sacrifice, because if you became a minister today, master, by the time you are leaving, Charlie, you don't need to be corrupt. You don't need to be corrupt. They thank you. If you don't work for the rest of your life, you survive. So the plain truth is that we've seen that certain positions in public office pay a lot more than in the private sector. So the more you talk about taxes, and then like, you see, Honorable Dafia Mekwe is my colleague lawyer. Yes, majority, this chief whip, it's a big position, and it comes with something. So then the thing is that you say, Dafia Mekwe is my colleague at the bar, but he was in parliament. This is now he's far ahead in life than me. So you see that the key thing is about an equal distribution at the bottom. So there are all of those sentiments. We recognize them, right? So we can deal with them one by one. But the tax, I think we should support government and also open our eyes wide to be sure that they will be used for the very purposes for which they've been promised. That's to say, buy the liquid fuel, and then to help pay the legacy debt. But whilst say that we'll subsequently, because the president said after we've solved the issue of the liquid fuels, eventually we will be using the money to help pay the legacy debts. As at the time Atufosi was speaking, he said it was $3.1 billion, right?
Yes.
You remember when Akufo-Addo was going, one of the speeches, he showed that when he was leaving, it was 2.5 billion. So in the last few months, because there is a speech that Akufo-Addo gave.
That's not accurate.
Yeah.
That's not accurate. As of December 2024, the debt related to generation was $3.1 billion. So that is what the previous administration bequeathed to this administration. So if the former president put out that information, that is not accurate.
Yes, there is a video where he says it's 2.5 billion. So it's 3.1. Very well. So you see that. So basically, yes, you want to pay off, but we also reckon. You see that, Mr. Ocansey, I like the way you put your question, the matter of ECG and those matters. But we also know that a lot of the debts, etc., have arisen because ECG is not being run efficiently. The corruption is too high. Look at the Haptel contract. Something ECG was doing by itself, the software. Baumia came and accused ECG workers of sabotage. He accused them of corruption and that they were sabotaging ECG. Then that gave him an opportunity to bring in Haptel so that they could also now raise money for themselves. That Haptel contract, we must go into it. You ask Bembuachi, other experts in the industry, they'll tell you that the commission on the Haptel contract is too high. In any event, wasn't ECG doing the same work? Because Baumia and his people wanted to make money, and when we come to ECG, problems with ECG lay at the doorstep of Baumia because the cash waterfall mechanism, etc., were being supervised by him. That's how come he brought in Haptel, so that his boys could make money.
You say he brought in this administration, you've seen they've also been seen as well,
They are going to renegotiate the Haptel contract. If not take it away, but it can't stay in its current form. That much, yes, it's very clear. There will be an aluta. The Haptel contract cannot stay in its current form. It's either coming down or going out totally, but not in its current form. That's how come those, remember we said it here, we said, look, that's how come people said, even went to the extent of saying Haptel is owned by Baumia. When they said so, yes, they know that Baumia would not put his name as shareholder.
That they came out to deny that it actually is not the case.
Oh, obviously, but who would be so foolish to go and put his name at the Registrar General as a shareholder? But what we mean is that the boys, those are his boys, so they make the money and then
to put it on
behind
record, that they responded that was not.
Oh, obvious. Yes. It's obvious. So when people say, you see, there's language, there's meaning in language. What people are saying is that the way the Haptel contract came in under Baumia's supervision, it reeks of corruption, that he brought in his boys so that those boys would make money, and then behind the scenes they will sort him out. That's the meaning of Baumia owns Haptel, not that
so
if you
want it investigated.
Oh, absolutely.
And reviewed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. I'm sure Mr. Jinapo will do that. No, there's no two ways about that. So, and other issues
but Martin,
ECG.
If we do investigate it and it comes out that Baumia is the owner, will it be told to the people?
It will not be told, but at least it will be reviewed. As for owner, no, you will not see him or owner on paper. No, that one, there's no way. No. You will never see him. It's about the proceeds. Follow the money. When the boys are paid, follow the money. Eventually, where does the money? So
that's why you're calling for investigation and possible review. You wanted to make an intervention quickly on that.
Yes, let me set that record straight. That the issues that have to do with ECG, in fact, as an entity, is under investigation. There are several issues when it comes to ECG, from procurement and other issues that actions that people have committed. Matters have been referred to the national security. There are some that is being dealt with by the CID. Others are being dealt with NIB. So with time, and that's why I made the point earlier that the issues with the power sector is being handled in several ways, multifaceted at the same time, simultaneously. You are dealing with the challenges with infrastructure, you are dealing with challenges with procurement, you are dealing with challenges with fuel and all that. But let me make the point clear that this tax or this levy that has been introduced is primarily to procure liquid fuels for the power plants.
For liquid fuels?
Primarily liquid fuels.
Okay.
And then like the president said, once you are dealing with a challenge, for example, if you are spending $1.2 billion on liquid fuels, if it's natural gas, you spend half the cost.
I see.
What it means is that you're going to make some savings there. And once those savings are made, then you can go into dealing with the debts in the sector. But all of them are being handled simultaneously.
Okay. Yes.
So whilst at it, before I forget, it's good Lawyer Jantua raised the matter of the solar panel revolution. Yes, let's mention, because currently in the UK, the energy minister, Ed Miliband, he calls it a rooftop solar panel revolution. So they are doing a lot of areas. So it's so it's good. It's good you've mentioned it. I mean, so if you follow that.
Just last week on the issue of renewables, last week at Karachi, in fact specifically Lala, the Minister for Energy launched the mini-grid solar project. So it's a policy that, and you know the ministry's name has been changed to Green Transition has been added to it. So it's now Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. So there are lots of interventions, mini-grids that have been rolled out recently. Before that, we're in Adan. And the goal is to make sure that by 2030, you close the rural electrification problem with mini-grids and also support homes and industries with rooftop solar.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so let's also have a rooftop solar revolution, right? So we are copying.
Let's also help VRA and Bui to expand their solar situation.
Yes. Are you done?
So 1 minute, just wrapping up. Yes, so the key thing is that, look, my assessment of the situation is that lots of us are with the government on the tax. But like you said, because of issues of unfair distribution of the national cake, that those in office don't pay fuel, etc. Government should be looking at long-term how to solve that problem. Is it that, and it appears so, that they will scrape fuel allowances for the big people so that then the ordinary man will feel like, yes, we are at par on that one. Maybe, because for the tax, like we're saying, yes, we want it paid. But where it appears is the ordinary man who is being taxed over and over and over, and the big people are feeding fat on us then it breeds resentment. It breeds a lot of resentment. So we should look at how to solve that. You know, it's all about optics. Once, and the emotions, once the people feel cheated, then they would not reason with you. Because currently, I can say, maybe Roxy is here, Mr. Janto is here, can correct me. I understand in the next pricing window, the prices are going to come down further, right? So then why are the oil marketing companies insisting that the tax is going to increase their costs? You say, so they are saying so. So let's meet them. Can we explain further? Because in the next pricing window, some say Monday or so, prices are going to, it's rather 15th June. Okay, so prices, so that should be somewhere around Friday, Saturday. Prices are going to come down further. So won't it be that what the tax, part of it will be swallowed up by the tax, so we will not feel it totally? Do we have an idea of how much the prices are going to come down? Roxanne, do you have?
No, what it is that the prices are reviewed every 2 weeks.
Yes.
So from the 1st and then 15th. Yes. So you look at the average projections, so average price of crude oil, average price of finished products, and the performance of the Ghana cedi. If you look at what I have before me now, this is the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, their price outlook for 1st June. And that is why the finance minister was bold to make the statements that prices were not going to go up because prices were expected to come down. Largely because of the market dynamics in the world and also the performance of the cedi. The trajectory we've seen so far, if it continues in the next pricing window, we expect prices to either drop or remain unchanged, unless, of course, dynamics change. As for the oil industry, anything can happen. Tomorrow, if Russia or you have other countries engage in some activities, it can affect it. But the most important thing is that what we have control over, which is the cedi, has seen a downward spiral. We've seen the performance of the cedi where it's moved from 17 to about 10 now, which is extremely significant and definitely has had an effect on.
And that's why I want to bring in Prof. Bobkin. And Prof, you hear the finance minister talk about the appreciation of the cedi and the knockoff effect that it would have on the immediate impact that this levy would have at the pumps. The OMCs think otherwise, that even if it's going to have any impact, it will be short-lived. What do you see happening in the next few days ahead?
All right, thank you very much, and good morning once again. So I think I've enjoyed the submissions from the studio. I'm not too sure I have anything more useful to add. But let me say that one critical thing that I think Lawyer Martin people also raised. We are confronted with a situation where there's very little trust for government and government institutions.
Unfortunately,
in this country.
Yes. Prof, I lost you briefly. Yes, you are saying there's very little trust for.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you, Prof.
Yeah. Very little trust in government and government institutions because of how we have justified the introduction of taxes and levies in this country. For a number of them, we used situational developments to explain the introduction of those taxes, and we package them as temporary tax handles or levies. But then after a while, they assume permanency. And then even though the situation probably would have improved, or there wasn't sufficient structural reforms in dealing with some of the issues that occasioned those arrears or losses which they used to justify the introduction of those taxes. And I think that is where we are right now. Let me say, and I've indicated already that I have a soft side for this levy. Not that is the optimal thing to do, but I'm looking at a number of factors. In my analysis, I used February and export price, where for a liter of petrol, we were looking at something close to 16 Ghana cedis per liter for petrol. That's end of February. I'm using end of February. That was when we saw the appreciation of the cedi, and then towards the end of April, the aggressive strengthening of the currency. So if you look at it from that perspective, from approximately 16 Ghana cedis, and you look at end of May, the same liter of petrol, we are looking at approximately 12 Ghana cedis. So it means that there is a savings of almost 4 Ghana cedis in my estimation, we are looking at average savings per liter of petrol of about 3.2 Ghana cedis to the consumer, largely driven by the aggressive strengthening of the currency. So with that space, with that comfort, I believe government is looking at it that instead of passing on all the 3.2 Ghana cedis per liter because of the aggressive strengthening of the currency, largely, can we introduce, let's say, a levy of 1 Ghana cedi, essentially holding back 1 Ghana cedi from the 3.2 or so that would have gone to the consumer? Because whether we like it or not, given the current pricing window that we witness, every liter that you buy, you are making considerable savings, and simply because of the exchange rate largely and all of that. So from that perspective, I think that the optimal way to package this levy was to look at it more like a windfall tax. A windfall tax where you say that we do not intend to pass on all these gains to the consumer, but we intend to use a portion of that to also continue to support the sector. Because I don't think that government would have gathered the courage. And I had said before that if you look at the IMF-supported program and government undertaking as part of the IMF-supported program in terms of the energy sector, the structural reforms, the upward progressive utility adjustment that we needed to do under the reforms, I think that it would have been unbearable for the consumer. And government would have struggled to make a case for considerable utility adjustment. If you will recall, last year, when government sought to introduce VAT on residential electricity consumption, and that was resisted, we shelved it, but it was going to show up at some point in time. So if you look at the projection from now to 2027, all the way to 2028, it says that government hasn't been transparent enough with us in terms of the communication, and of course, the fear that will be created. I see this to be a smart way of raking in revenue and increasing our repayment capacity also within the energy sector, because a windfall situation has been created. We cannot deny that. If you look at the export price today, compare that to end of February or early April, you will see some kind of savings being accumulated to the ordinary consumer from that perspective. So in that sense, we can justify this. I'm a bit uncomfortable if government pushes the angle that this is going to be a permanent levy. I think that would be a betrayal, and we should look at it from that perspective. The other thing to also look at is that government should situate this levy within a broader reforms and the communication of that, because we know that the problems with the energy sector is not purely the issue of competence. There's also fraud, procurement fraud, even when it comes to the procurement of fuel, right? And all of that. There's very little transparency in that area. I suppose going forward with this levy, and as I indicated, I'm comfortable to pay this levy, but government has to demonstrate to us how their reforms are biting in terms of procurement fraud, even with procurement of fuel. There has to be greater transparency in how this money is going to be used. The reason I have a soft side towards this levy is also because if you look at the tariff regime, the tariff formula, there are structural deficiencies in how the tariff is conceptualized currently. Okay, so, and again, it comes down to the same agreement that our government negotiated on our behalf. If you look at the offtake from the independent power producers, it's take or pay, at commercial rate, and yet we also agreed to buy fuel for them separately. So that cost of procuring fuel is currently not adequately captured in the tariff formula. So if we are going to continue to rely on fuel, right, to generate power, then there has to be a way of accounting for that. Given that we don't have the fiscal space, and we don't have that, if you look at all the, even the previous administration, part of the challenges we've had with doomsday persisting is also because we didn't have the money to procure the fuel to make sure that all the installed capacity are utilized, so we have reliable power and all of that. So we can make a case that, yes, there's a windfall, and the data is there to support that. And I've been looking at the OMC's projections and all of that, and I think they should take another look. And the argument to Ghanaian is to situate this within the fact that simply because of government actions, when I say government actions, it also came at a cost. If you look at the shock therapy, steep expenditure cut in the 2025 budget, there is some kind of leadership when it comes to sacrifice, right from the office of the president to the vice president, even to the speaker of parliament. If you look at the expenditure cuts and you break them down, they did not spare even the judiciary. They didn't spare Ghanaians. In fact, I'm not sure ministers are totally happy right now because they don't have the fiscal space to spend like the way they would have. But they were all appointed and sworn in with visions. And to translate your vision into actual, it requires considerable cash flow. If you look at even some state-owned enterprises and government institutions, their balances have been swept so that government is able to meet their obligations without breaking our borrowing cap. And also, currently, there is sacrifice going on. I see leadership from that perspective. And I think that explains why I have a soft side towards this levy. But more importantly, we should not package this as a permanent levy. I think the sunset clause, even if it's not expressly stated, should be linked to the current favorable factors which explain the introduction of this levy, so that if the macro numbers change, we see excessive rise in world oil price, and then also the currency begins to probably realign to some extent, then it should be possible in the name of transparency and honesty for government to say that, you know what, there isn't economic justification for this levy to continue. We are going to take it out, and then in future, if favorable conditions exist, we could look at that. But I think that in the interim, whilst we look at reforms, even for procurement, management competency, and all of that, in the immediate, government would need some fiscal resources to be able to procure fuel. Then again, with this introduction, it also assures our creditors from the independent power producers and the rest of them that there's a repayment capacity and government is taking steps to meet their demands. So that is where I come from.
I see. And so for you, to the extent that there has to be a sunset clause, at least, in the spirit of transparency.
I think so. I think that it will be a bad sell if government package this as a permanent levy. It will be an abuse of the trust of Ghanaians and the goodwill the government is enjoying right now. Because so far, government has not, I don't see that government has done enough in terms of fraud, dealing with fraud in the energy sector, right? And then procurement abuse and all of that. I've seen some steps being taken even in terms of private sector participation and all of that. If you look at the last 10, 15 years, even the argument that was made for the introduction of ESLA and the rest of them packaged as temporary, and many of them, even way back, go back to President Kufuor's time from 2001, what we now call growth and sustainability levy, started way back then as fiscal stabilization, short-term, temporary, and all of that. But what do we see now? So the more we do this without the necessary leadership and aggressiveness in addressing the structural issues, these structural issues that manifest in arrears, indebtedness that we talked about here, part of it also manifests explicitly in shoring up the cash flow of individuals, powerful people, politically connected in this country. And the ordinary consumer is being viewed as a residual claimant, used as a punch bag every now and then. And it's becoming clear to us that when government says innovation, we are doing well, all that it means is that go and tax the people, go and burden the people. You cannot see in all the manifestos that political parties put out there that they are going to tax Ghanaians the more. They will talk about innovative ways of raising revenue, and all of that. But we all know since 1992 that every government that comes, they will try to find a way of introducing some taxes so as to be able to prosecute their agenda. I think that is where we are. But I'm saying that this should not, if we look at the pricing formula carefully, in the immediate, I do not anticipate that this specific levy would lead to significant increase in export price. I think we should look at it from that perspective. I'm also seeing, given the signal from Bank of Ghana, working with the Ministry of Finance, that they are not going to allow this aggressive strengthening of the currency to revert or immediately, a reversal immediately. That will be a bad selling, right? So once they are able to sustain that within that target band, okay, I'm looking at something between 10, 12, of course, within that range. It should help us to also stabilize, given favorable world conditions and all of that, to stabilize the pricing, because that is what is good for the market. Then from there, we'll be able to see a gradual decline in prices and general improvement in the business environment. But of course, for businesses, they will be able to claim this extra cost through how they account for it in the statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. Ultimately, from that perspective, it will lead to lower taxes at the end of the day in terms of corporate income tax and all of that. The problem is more of consumers, right, who cannot have a direct way of adjusting for this, the cost that may rise in the future and all of that. And that is why I'm saying that, yes, we should look at this as a temporary one, given that there will be communication, publication, transparency in how much has been accrued and how it has been used. At those periodic updates, we should be linking that to the reasons for which we are making a case for this temporary levy. And if the reasons vary significantly, we should be able to come back to Ghanaians and say that we are taking this out. That is how you win the confidence of the people of Ghana. And the transparency and the communication should not be limited to this one Ghana cedi levy. It should be linked to the entire spectrum of levies in the export price buildup. There should be greater transparency now going forward in how we account for ESLA and all the other levies, and even margins that other state-owned enterprises continue to dwell on going forward. There should be greater transparency in all of this. There should be transparency in how companies or firms are going to be procured in supplying fuel. What is the margin and all of that? Let's put all these things out there, because the ultimate consumer that is paying for it, the taxpayer, is overburdened, whether we like it or not. It looks as though that it is not okay for the Ghanaian to be happy, because this is the time that we are enjoying some relief, especially from export price. I go and buy fuel, I calculate, I look at my savings that I've made and all of that. Yes, good. The more you're able to buy, the more savings you make, of course. But government says that we don't want you to laugh for that long. We are introducing this. But I think that we should be linking this to structural reforms and the communication, and government should be telling us on regular basis how their reforms and interventions are bearing fruit. They should cost that. That is how you show to the people of Ghana that your leadership is different, and therefore we should all get along. Without that, it's going to be difficult. I'm not expecting the president to say that, hey, we are only accountable when it comes to the one Ghana cedi levy or the one cedi levy. No, there should be total transparency in the whole price build-up, the taxes and all of that. Then also the reforms in the entire energy value chain. What progress are we making in reducing commercial losses? What progress are we making in reducing technical losses? Of course, and that is where I come in again and say that I have a soft side towards this levy. Even for certain improvement along technical losses, we will require some baseline initial investment, and we don't have that fiscal space. We can decide that let's rather go and borrow. The more government borrows, remember, it signals higher taxes in the future. Even if they don't introduce taxes, it may come in the form of a haircut, like we saw recently, where you may not even get to choose the style of the haircut. The state imposes a hairstyle on everyone. right, that has lent to them. So let's look at the difficult choices that we have to make. But right now, this is not a painful choice to make because government has created a certain scope which enables this levy to be situated. But of course, it should be packaged as temporary. But of course, we would have all wished that the gains from the aggressive strengthening of the currency will be passed on totally to the consumer. But I can also understand it from this perspective. If I look at the analysis, that is how I see it, and there's data to support that.
And whether it's painful or not is relatively subjective. It depends on which side you want to look at. Because already GPRTU, Mr. Dafenko, have served notice of what they intend to do in the coming days. They say you, the parliamentarians, on the majority side, you betrayed them, and that they've had engagements with you and the ministry that they were not going to increase, any form of taxes, and that's why they agreed to reduce transport fares by 15%, not knowing you had this up your sleeves and to spring up this surprise on them. So they've given you up to Tuesday, or else they'll go on a sit-down strike. Let's hear from GPRTU, Alhaji Abbas Imoro, quickly. They addressed a press conference this week. Take a look.
We are here to make sure we organize this press conference on behalf of all transport operators. Commercial transport operators, including GPRTU of TUC, are by this statement demanding immediate removal of the 1 cedi energy sector levy imposed on petroleum products. This levy, which is coming on the heels of the recent reduction in transport fares, will significantly increase operational costs, resulting in loss of income, which will affect our livelihood and the general public.
How do you respond to this?
Thank you very much. Good morning once more to my seniors and colleagues and our viewers. First of all,
morning.
The imposition of the 1 cedi, as it were, on fuel purchases going forward for purposes of taking care of the huge hole left behind in terms of the energy provision, cannot be the basis for which the GPRTU want to do this.
Why?
All private transport owners want to do this.
Why do you say that?
They have consistently told us, anytime conditions were favorable, and we asked them to reduce transport fares or to adjust transport fares to respond to the call, they will tell you that fuel is not the only component of their operational cost. Prices of spare parts, prices of vehicles, and such other things. And therefore, if they do not experience an equal drop in the cost of dealing with those components of the operational cost, they never reduce prices for us. Transport fares, they will never. So for them to jump on the imposition of this 1 cedi to demand that it should be withdrawn because they had been asked to reduce fares by 15%, is neither here nor there. And let me explain. We were here when 2017, government decided to amend ESLA. ESLA had been in operation for about a year when JM left office. He introduced, and you must read the long title of ESLA 899. This was what he had to say. It was an act to consolidate existing energy sector levies, to promote prudent utilization of the proceeds generated from the levies imposed on a price stabilization and recoveries levy, facilitate the sustainable long-term investment in the energy sector, and to provide for related matters. So if you check the schedule, there were schedules of which rates were applicable depending on which energy product you were consuming. It's quite lengthy, so I didn't want to bore you.
Yeah.
This was the act. So if you go to Section 7 and Section 6 of the law, it provided for how these levies, proportions that should be paid into specific accounts. For instance, under Section 4.2, it was supposed to, under Section 4.2 ABC, under 4.2A, 60% of the levies that was generated from taxes imposed for National Electrification Scheme, 60% was to have been paid into the account. Under the street light levy, 40% was to have been paid into the account. Then under the energy debt recovery itself, 68%. And the purpose for this was to specifically deal with some debt in the energy sector. If we go to 4.3, Section 4.3, it also provided certain proportion for instance, for payment for utility debts, the power supply and power generation, clearly provided. When our brothers assumed power in 2017, April, not even half a year, 5th April, they brought an amendment. What did they say? The long title to the amendment, which was Act 946, 2017, it provides an act to amend the ESLA, that's 2015 Act 999, to review transfers. To review transfers into power generation infrastructure support sub-account to provide for a reduction in the rate of levies for public lighting and the National Electrification Scheme and the petroleum products for related matters. As soon as they did this, then they set up the ESLA PLC and used the PLC to deal with this fund as though it were their private property, and dissipated the account under the name of COVID expenditure. They mortgaged it, if you recall, in December 2022, GM, in addressing a seminar at, I think, Academic City, he hinted this, that they mortgage ESLA until 2035. Until 2035. What did they do with the money? Meanwhile, ESLA was supposed to have taken care of to consolidate all this energy. If you read the repeal provision, it was to have consolidated all the small levies existing into one mother act to deal with the energy sector. And in fact, even under ESLA 899, there was a provision to deal with the premix subsidies. When they were leaving office in January 5th, 2020, January 6th, 2025, the debt that they left for premix alone was in excess of 90 million Ghana cedis.
For premix?
For premix alone. Meanwhile, ESLA had provided for the payment of premix. But it didn't happen. So they ought not to have come with an amendment, with a bill to amend the ESLA if they needed to amend the schedule. Because under regulations, Section 7, which gives the minister power to bring regulations, we mandated the minister to be able to amend the schedule with a regulation. But they had an ulterior motive.
What ulterior motive?
The motive was that the proceeds that were going to the ESLA statutorily provided accounts were dissipated. How can we be facing a monstrous amount of in excess of 5 billion in the energy sector? If, for instance, ESLA had been managed in such a way that it was to handle the problems as they came along, it didn't. They misapplied the funds. Even if you are minded to mortgage it and apply the proceeds that came today against the future generation for purposes for which it was set up. They applied it to other things and still blame the former government, which was then the NDC, that we were having crisis because of the is it take or pay?
Take or pay agreements.
Take or pay agreements that we left behind. So the energy minister since upon assuming office, decided that in conjunction with the finance minister that this must be done. So for me, in all these matters, we are looking at conduct. Conduct of two different managers of the sector. How are you committed to dealing with this matter? One was left with so much money to be able to handle this. They came to need the money. They collected more, but we supplied it. They even mortgaged some. When you mortgage something, you're supposed to get proceeds immediately to apply. To investment, the law allows you to invest. It's part of the loan title. They didn't invest. Roxanne is sitting here. Ask him the number of megawatts that the Nana Akufo-Addo government added to our national generation power or capacity. Ask him. So, zero investment. We are told that some high tension lines, for instance, from Asiekwe to Ho, was a line that was instituted by Germans. The lines are so old that they are not able to transfer power to serve the people. Because of the slightest problem, then you see that the whole Volta region and OT are in crisis. So, yes, I agree that the people have been surprised. But it's a bitter pill. Otherwise, it's better we pay for we do this and be able to have some cushion to deal with the debt other than sleeping in darkness. Well, that for me is the issue. Well, but let me leave the generals and deal with the specifics. So the GPRTU people, if you read the Mother Esra Act, it was also to provide for forex exchange losses. Forex exchange losses. So when there are forex exchange gains, then of course the people should benefit. And if the people should benefit, the government is saying the benefits that is coming to you, it's not direct. Because if you needed 17 cedis in January or December last year to purchase a gallon of fuel, and today you need 12 cedis or even 11 cedis, it means that the purchasing power has improved. Because you no longer need 17 cedis, you're only using 11 cedis. So if government says, add 1 cedi, to make it 12 cedis, you understand?
A net gain.
It's a net gain. But that is also not directly coming from your pocket, because it is the power of the city. Once it keeps increasing, today perhaps you may be purchasing it for 11 cedis. Tomorrow morning it will be 10 cedis. So that 10 cedis is what the government says that 1 cedi must come to us. And I don't think that this should be a fight for us between
leader Alexander Pennyman thinks otherwise. Because when this was introduced under a certificate of emergency by you in Parliament,
certificate of urgency
by you in Parliament,
yes,
this is what he said, and we'll hear from Alexander Pennyman. And in the first place, why did it have to come under a certificate of urgency?
Mr. Speaker, it is only important that we engage and you let us know. You come with your justification. You came here to present your budget. You presented your budget saying you are not going to introduce new taxes, new levies. Then you turn around, you say you are repealing e-levy. You are all over the place. Now you are bringing back e-levy. And then you say that the Ghanaian public will not feel it. Mr. Speaker, you repeal e-levy, reintroduce e-levy. That's what you are doing. What are you? This is the e-levy. You have introduced e-levy. Then you say that you run it through certificate of urgency.
Why did you do this?
Yes. Now, laws are introduced under a certificate of urgency, depending on the general principles underpinning or sponsoring or underpinning the bill. Why? Government is of the opinion that we are pushing the media review.
Okay.
In order to take care of this energy crisis, you need to do this before you prepare the media review. There's no way you can come for a media review without having done this. If you don't do this, then you are done for the year. So it was important that we do this. And it was a 2-paragraph amendment. It was such a skeletal amendment. Yeah. So there was no need for us to spend 1 month, 2 months on such an amendment to a law. We just amended 2 provisions in the schedule. And this one can be done in a matter of a couple of hours. So the Honorable Apenyomanke, clearly my brother, but for purposes of mischief, today he refused to appreciate the difference between an e-levy and a tax levy. A tax levy is not an e-levy. E-levy is an electronic levy imposed on electronic transactions. This one is a tax imposed on petroleum and energy products or services consumed. Well, so he got it all wrong. Well, but I can pardon him. He needed to do that because as opposition, he thought that he can oppose anything. So, Ocansey, is the NPP that bastardized ESLA? But for that reason, wouldn't be here. Look, in September, before the elections, ESLA in its audited accounts stated that they had assets in excess of 5 billion. They had cash at hand in excess of 3 billion. Just after the elections, and when they handed over, these things cannot be accounted for. And they are things that we must go after. So the mismanagement of ESLA and its related matters in dealing with the energy sector is totally immersed in corruption.
Okay. Well,
you understand the point. So conduct. Let's give the John Mahama administration the opportunity to deal with this matter, with this. I agree with those who are saying that there should be periodic accountability of how much is coming in, how it is being utilized, how it is being applied to what investment, how the existing debt stock is dwindling as a result of the application of this levy. That I agree. And that we are obligated to do. Okay. So if we are called upon to do that, Roxanne is here, he speaks for the energy ministry. We will do that.
All right.
We won't behave like the NPP.
Anyway.
And pretend that we apply ESLA in COVID when the COVID-19 report itself says that monies were not applied for the purpose for which they were taken.
Okay. Well, I'm running up on this one. I'll go on the next issue. That is Kenneth Friata now on the Interpol red notice. But a quick word, finally, quick one, in a minute to you, Mr. Jantua, very quickly.
It would have been a great thing if we didn't politicize this entire energy sector. The politicization of it doesn't help anybody. The NPP can't say they are going on demonstration when we have the kind of debts that we have. They should add their voice to it in a positive way, give solutions so that it satisfies everybody. Because every Ghanaian is going to go through the challenges of doomsday if we can't settle this. But to conclude, there are certain aspects that can affect this 1 cedi price. I've mentioned it. I said crude oil market dynamics and product prices on the international market. That can affect it. However, when you look at the others, it's a wider discussion that we need to have. cedi performance is important, but most importantly, ex-pump prices. Those ex-pump prices has a direct linkage into toll. Direct linkage into toll. If we were able to get toll back on its feet, we are an oil-producing country. We can refine some of our own crude. And even if we are not using it to supply Ghanaians, we can export and make foreign exchange to bring into the system. So I think it is something we should look at. But most importantly, this particular discussion should help us look at public transport and how we are going to make public transport efficient and cheaper.
Right.
Because when you go to countries like the UK, a lot of people have sold their cars. Because why? Public transport is efficient.
Thank you. Mr. Jautua and Roxanne, quick one, 30 seconds, please.
The government had 2 options. It was either to pass on this cost for liquid fuels to the consumer, which would mean that the prices of electricity would have gone up by 68%. Because if you look at the electricity tariff structure, the cost of liquid fuels are not included. either the government did that or the government has to look for innovative ways of raising funds to be able to take care of the $1.2 billion cost for fuel. Fortunately, we've seen prudent management of the economy. Exchange rates have moved from 17 to 10. We've also seen fuel prices move from around 17 to 12 or 11, depending on where you buy it from. The government understands that it is difficult for people to pay taxes. And that is why the government is asking the people of Ghana to support this decision. Be rest assured that the power sector will be managed prudently. And there will be reviews from time to time. If it gets to a point where there's a need to abolish this levy entirely or review it downwards, definitely be assured that that is what the president and the Minister of Energy will do. So it is not that the president is fixated on, or the ministry is fixated on taxing the people of Ghana. A president that has worked tirelessly to reduce fuel prices from 17 to 11 and exchange rates is not interested in taxing the people of Ghana. The government is spot on. The government is interested in ensuring that we have at all material times stable electricity for the people of Ghana. So we know that is difficult, but we'll ask for the people of Ghana to support. And then at the end of the day, reviews will be done. The money will be channeled.
Thank you. Richmond Roxon speaks for the Energy Ministry. Kwame Jantwa is also a private legal practitioner. He's going to have his quick word on this kind of Foreata matter, and that's the next issue we're going to. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7. This week, the special prosecutor redeclared Kenneth Nanaya Foreata, the former finance minister, a wanted man. And the special prosecutor gave chronicle of events and specifically the reason why this had to be done. Because Kenneth Foreata was expected to physically be present before the special prosecutor on the 2nd of June. That did not happen, 1:30 p.m. specifically. That did not happen. His lawyers had written to him, and then also later we got to see a letter purportedly from the doctors of Kenneth Foreata that he had to undergo another surgical operation on the 13th of June. The special prosecutor says that letter that was in circulation did not get to him before that press conference on Tuesday. But this is the special prosecutor. Take a look.
OSP redeclares that Mr. Foreata is a wanted person and a fugitive from justice. His name is hereby re-entered on the OSP's list of wanted persons. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure Mr. Foreata's return to the jurisdiction and to answer to the criminal inquiries against him. In pursuance of this, about 30 minutes before this briefing, I triggered processes for the issuance of an Interpol Red Notice for the location and provisional arrest of Mr. Kenneth Nanaya Foreata in whichever jurisdiction pending extradition or his surrender. Around the same time, I dispatched a request for extradition processes to be instituted for the provisional apprehension in any jurisdiction in which Mr. Foreata may be located or found, and his extradition to the Republic of Ghana. The principle of lifestyle audit non-conviction-based asset recovery should be stamped in the Constitution to encompass public officers, politically exposed persons, and persons in the private sector suspected of having engaged or engaging in corruption and corruption-related activities, on the reckoning that the person must have legitimate sources of income sufficient to justify the interest in any property that that person holds. The OSP redeclares that Mr. Foreata is a wanted person and a fugitive from justice. His name is hereby re-entered on the OSP's list of wanted persons. The OSP will take all necessary legal steps to secure Mr. Foreata's return to the jurisdiction and to answer to the criminal inquiries against him. In pursuance of this, about 30 minutes before this briefing, I triggered processes for the issuance of an Interpol Red Notice for the location and provisional arrest of Mr. Kenneth Nanaya Foreata in whichever jurisdiction pending extradition or his surrender. Around the same time, I dispatched a request for extradition processes to be instituted for the provisional apprehension in any jurisdiction in which Mr. Foreata may be located or found, and his extradition to the Republic of Ghana.
Well, that's the special prosecutor, Kessie Ejabeng, addressing the press there. Now, just 2 days ago, on the night of Thursday, we got notice that the former finance minister, has been now listed on the Interpol red alert over the charge of using public office for profit. We're going to go onto the Interpol website now, and specifically the red alert area, and you'll see the publication of Kenneth Nana Ofori-Atta, the former finance minister, being officially listed on Interpol's red notice database following a renewed request by the Office of Special Prosecutor. And it comes amidst this ongoing corruption investigation and intensified efforts to bring the former finance minister to justice. There you have it there. Now, the Interpol red notice says identity particulars, Ofori-Atta Kenneth Nana, male, 65 years old, place of birth, Accra, Ghana, physical description, 1.7 meters, color of hair, black, color of eyes, black, details, languages spoken, English and Twi. And the charge there, you see on the Interpol website, as published, is using public office for profit. Using public office for profit. And before that, the special prosecutor had already published a wanted notice of Ken Ofori-Atta on the day that he addressed the press. And even though the letter from Ken Ofori-Atta's lawyers indicate, and then his doctors purportedly indicate that he is to undergo this surgical operation at the Mayo Clinic in the United States, the special prosecutor's wanted notice had possible locations of Ken Ofori-Atta to be United States, United Kingdom, South Africa, Guyana, Hong Kong, Cayman Islands. These 6 countries. I start off with you, Kwame Jantwa, while I welcome Christian Mam Hesse, is a private legal practitioner. Good morning to you, sir. Welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
This was inevitable, some say, Kwame Jantwa, based on the chronicle of events as the special prosecutor outlined even before this redeclaration of
Alfred, it would be very, very sad to see Ken Ofori-Atta being in handcuffs dragged into this country.
Why?
I don't think it is something we want to see. Look, everyone is proven innocent and proven guilty. The offenses that are being charged Ken Ofori-Atta are grave offenses. If I were his people, I would advise him, especially when he couldn't make the 25th March surgery. He should have come back and told Ghanaians that I'm ready to come. Right now, if I were in his shoes and I were advising him, I would just say, come. Let's have this thing over and done with. I think the fear on his side, and it is my opinion, is that probably when he comes, his passport will be seized. They will not allow him to travel again because this thing about we're investigating so you can't go anywhere might hang over his head. But if the man is genuinely sick and he comes down and he needs to go back because of health, why would government say, no, you can't go back? I don't think President Mahama is that wicked to say the man is sick and because we are investigating him, he should stay. I think those handling him should be able to advise him to come, get this thing over and done with, and then we see where we go from here. Maybe the other side of the coin, the reason why he doesn't want to come back is that the implications of some of the offenses would also affect others. Typical. Cathedral. Who decided to use what money to dig a hole? Who decided it? Who was part and parcel of it? Will that expose others in that value chain, if I can call it a value chain? I think we should get this thing over and done with. And as I said, a man is innocent until proven guilty. I would not like to see him dragged here in chains and handcuffs. So anybody in the MPP, advise him, oh boy, if you can travel, come down, have this thing over and done with. Because definitely,
to even extradite him is going to take time. It's not like tomorrow. It's going to take quite a lengthy situation to have that. I said, if Mohammed don't go to the mountain should go to Mohammed. I believe that the special prosecutor can also decide to go out there and get the facts. Is he sick? Isn't he sick? What is his doctor saying? Let's get the real facts and then see where we go from here. I believe it's important for Ken to show up. Very important for Ken to show up. Because if he shows up, a lot of these things will be able to get some truth to it.
Or the special prosecutor is of the view that his lawyers haven't proven that he's incapable of traveling.
Well, the fact that he even missed that 25th date of surgery shows a question mark. Shows a question mark. Because he was supposed to have come earlier. He said he was going for surgery on the 25th of March. That didn't happen. He didn't come back. And then towards the time, and look, the special prosecutor gave him till June 2nd, right? Towards the time, he came back and gave another excuse. That doesn't show transparency. That doesn't show credibility and integrity. He should even come back when he knew that the operation wasn't going to go on, the surgery wasn't going to go on, and then quickly come down and have this thing over and done with, once and for all. Because at the present moment, all this alert in all these countries that we're talking about does not help anybody. Yes, bra, yen question. You may be a we ya yen tiasi, brabetanasi, Nindia bubu, ni who say we are guilty and also we are guilty. And now wombi and also wombi. Unimbia, one in the womb, ye penocre. Simple.
To it.
I don't know why we are stretching it. Yes, I don't know why we are stretching it.
But why do you think the burden should be
Come
on
and let's
the special
engage and say you won't
prosecutor?
come.
The burden should be on the special prosecutor to travel to authenticate whether or not the the former finance minister is indeed sick or otherwise.
In criminal cases,
is it his duty to do so?
who has the burden of proof? Who is supposed to prove?
But in this, the person who's
It's prosecution.
It's prosecution.
It's prosecution.
It's prosecution. And I'm saying that, look, this thing can be done, this thing can be done in a way that both sides will benefit. And I'm saying that, you might not agree with me, but this is the way I see it. And it's my opinion. My opinion could be wrong, but that's the way I see it. I'm saying that we should look at a situation where we can get Kenufriata here. And if others in the MPP can sit with him, even President Akufo-Addo, if he can call his cousin and say, oh boy, the offenses that they are putting on you is grave. Please, if you can, come. Because the OSP wants to do what? He wants to see you face to face. He doesn't want this internet interview. He wants you to come. Come down and let's see how we sort this thing out once and for all. The truth is somewhere in there. The truth. And I'm sure MPP people know, some of them know where the truth is. But we're saying you are the finance minister. Some of these monies were expended by you. You need to answer questions that would help our investigations. Come and let's have this discussion and let's have it over and done with and move forward. If we have the discussion and it shows that yes, there's a case against you, it goes to court. Your lawyers will have to come and defend you, and then we take it from there. $200 million, for the cathedral. Am I right or am I wrong? The big hole.
No, $58 million.
$58 million, 200 million cedis, right?
No, equivalent of 440 million Ghana cedis.
That is
at
a
the time.
lot of money. That really, Minister of Finance should be able to prove how that money went into a deep hole. If for nothing at all, that alone needs questioning. That alone needs investigation. So I will appeal to Kenufriata. If you have the strength to travel, please come down and let's have this thing over and done with. Thank you.
Well, this outcome is one that did not surprise you, at least based on the chronicling of events that the special prosecutor gave. Is it the case that Kenufriata's lawyers, the approach they took did not help, or this outcome would certainly have been the case no matter how it was approached?
Oh, you can see that quite clearly. His defense team was in shambles. They didn't do a good job at all, right? So this very key to this discussion, the analysis, is the fact that, you see, when Oforiatta was given the extension to 2nd June, that was in February, right? That was reached sometime in February.
Yes.
So he had a lot of time. March, he had the whole of April, right? Part of March, a larger part of March, and the whole of April to, come back to the OSP. If he saw that he was going to need a further extension. Look at the thing. This is the thing. Yeah. At the time they gave him extension to 2nd June to meet OSP, he was billed to undergo the surgery on 20th and 21st March. Yeah. Very key. Let's look at that. So he was billed to go under the knife on 20th and 21st March. Those were the 2 days for the surgery. Now, before that date, even if we are using 21st March as a date, it became clear to him that the surgery will no longer come on. The key thing is that why didn't Oforiatta reach out to the special prosecutor? Why didn't he reach out to the special prosecutor at least from 21st March? That, Mr. Jabin, we agreed I would see you on the 2nd of June, right? Because I was going to do surgery on 20th and 21st March. But now, today is 21st March. The surgery has not taken place. There are going to be other moves here and there. So what can we do in terms of maybe rescheduling? Can we move forward my meeting with you? Anything. Anything. Once the surgery didn't come on, it's such a material fact, very, very weighty, that his defense needed to reach out to the OSP and discuss the way forward. Because let's remember, meeting adjourned to 2nd June because we are going to do surgery 20th, 21st March. 20th, 21st March, you don't do a surgery. You don't reach out to OSP. So if you check 21st June to 21st April, 1 month, 21st May, 2 months, then his lawyers write on the 28th of May. Yeah. I mean, come on. That's where he lost it. That's where he lost it. It's as if he and his lawyers, they don't even appreciate the quagmire in which Oforiatta finds himself. I mean, we all lived here. Ghanaians were unhappy that Akufo-Addo has made his brother Oforiatta the finance minister. We borrow, then they make money. We borrow, then they make money through data banks. So their families become very rich from the loans that today are killing us, right? So if you have lawyers who don't put all of this in context, then you are in serious trouble. Because it's very, very, very important that you should know that people want Oforiatta to be held accountable. Because they've made too much money under the guise of it's legitimate. Data bank was already doing that work, which is false. Kweku Reketshagen came and sat here and said, look, when he was deputy finance minister, they brought on Data Bank and Toby Afede's company, Strategic African Securities, right, to learn from the big boys, the white boys. So they were understudying the whites. Yet as soon as MPP came in, suddenly Data Bank has become a very experienced company that's the one doing all the work, which is lies. How many years do you understudy? Do you hear people say, oh, he has been issuing bonds long ago, from a long time? When he was just given that experience, his company was given that experience. In the NDC2 administration, that's the 2013 to 2016 JM administration. But they kept lying. People who supported it kept lying. Oh, Oforiatta has been doing this work, issuing these bonds for decades. It's different. They were trading in securities. These ordinary treasury bills, EPAC, those are domestic securities, not international bonds, not the ones that suddenly Data Bank was making a lot of money from. But they deceived the public, and people kept repeating it. They've been doing this for long. So the main point we're making is that you would find that based on the way they were openly taking our money through Data Bank, millions of Ghanaians were not happy. And then because we kept saying that they are corrupt, apart from what we could see through the open taking of money through data bank when Ghana borrows. We could also see that there had been the KPMG report on SML. You would see the Oforiatta's hands all over it. You would see the National Cathedral one. Yes, he went to Parliament, you know, the censure vote. He went and said they took it from a contingency vote. That's the money, right? Contingency vote, meaning that they use contingency funds to do National Cathedral. Every auditor, accountant will tell you that no, you don't embark on such a massive project with contingency money, etc. So National Cathedral, SML, at least these were very public. People knew. It appears the other ones were ones that, well, I hadn't said, especially the PF fund, the tax fund.
Yes.
Right? And also the one involving the Chinese company.
We'll put the notice.
Yeah, please put them.
The wanted notice has the details.
Yes, but at least two of them, National Cathedral was very, 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 very open. People, millions of Ghanaians knew it. SML also open. You know, Bembuachi's African, this is Center for Energy Policy, yes, etc., CDD and the rest. I led them. We've sued SML and sued Oforiatta himself.
I see. You are in court.
Yes, we are in court. So these things are things that he should know. So anybody advising him will know that, hey, Master, you are public enemy number one. So everything you do, your surgery didn't come on. Inform the OSP and see how to maybe come back to Ghana quickly to take care of this business and go back, whatever. You think, yes, upon all I've said, you think that today, if every doctor who comes to look at Oforiatta in Ghana tells us that, no, this man needs to go back for surgery, Ghanaians will say, no, he should die. Yes, of course, naturally, you'll find some who will say he should die. But the larger majority of us are reasonable. Everybody will agree that, okay, let him go for surgery and come. So this whole thing, not to come into Ghana, not to, give the OSP the needed cooperation, is something that just puts his whole defense in shambles, right? And tells us that there are sinister motives. Yeah, he's not showing good faith. This is common sense. Common sense, very basic. Very basic.
It's why I said they gave the OSP the letter information needed that he was due, for instance, in the June 13 for another procedure. And so that should have been considered as well by the special prosecutor. To say that still they left him in shambles. That's how you put it, based on what has happened now?
Yes. Oh, listen, like I said, it doesn't change anything. You see, let's go back. March 21. March 20th and March 21 were the dates for the surgery. March.
Yes.
The surgeries didn't come on those dates. And I can even tell you from my experience that the way the US people work, even not only US, Ghana, I would be sure that 2 to 3 days before the surgery, if it's no longer coming on, they would know because of the way they arrange their things. If the surgery, let's even say that we cannot tell, maybe there was an emergency on the day of the surgery. So let's leave that side. Let's use why. On 20th of March, he didn't do a surgery. 21st of March, he didn't do a surgery. So why did he keep quiet till the 28th May? That's a key thing. This particular thing, when you are analyzing, you don't need to talk plenty. Simply, 21st March, your surgery didn't come on. Why did you keep quiet till 28th of May? More than 2 months. And the June 13th, you are saying, unless Mr. Ocansey, unless I missed something, that June 13th, when did he write? When did he write to OSP? That's a key thing. As far as I'm aware, OSP says it's 28th May. Is there an earlier letter than 28th May that we can use?
So there was a 28th May that there was another court. In fact, the Oforiatta's lawyers filed another case in court on the 28th of May. But then this letter, which we're going to put on the screen from the Mayo Clinic in the United States, let's put that on the screen right now. That letter had some detail specific to what was the latest medical condition of Ken Oforiatta and the date that you talk about and when this was written. And this is it. It says, "Dear Sir, Madam," and this was written on May 14th. The date on this letter is May 14th.
But when did it come to the attention of the OSP? That's a key thing.
Says, I'm writing to inform you that Kenneth Ofori-Atta has undergone an MR-guided biopsy and has been diagnosed with prostate cancer. A surgical intervention has been deemed necessary after the testing and MRI and biopsy procedures in March. So what happened in March was the testing and MRI.
Yes, but not the surgery. So at that time, they had said that they were going to do surgery. You see, not a biopsy. Said they were going to do surgery. He was due for surgery. So then OSP looked at it and magnanimously gave more time because after surgery, you need to what? Recover. As for this particular case, you remember, let's put this in context. You remember the first time OSP declared him wanted. I sat here and granted many interviews and said I disagreed strongly with the OSP. I disagreed the first time because why? Like we say in Ghanaian English, when Ofori-Atta was traveling out of Ghana, he wrote a letter and took it to Chief of Staff, Mr. Julius Debra. It was Mr. Debra who didn't give the security agencies. That's something I fault him too for. Knowing everything around Ofori-Atta, I'm so surprised that, extremely surprised that the letter was taken to Mr. Debra's office and they didn't give the security agencies. Maybe it's something we should be investigating and fire the people. Maybe I can imagine Chief of Staff, he can say, look, he can't read every letter. But his office, who is in charge? How did they manage that? A letter, Ofori-Atta says, I'm traveling out of Ghana. It comes to the Chief of Staff's office and him. I mean, anybody knows that, hey, this man, everybody knew right away after the elections that he'll be the number one person to answer questions. So he says he's traveling. And so what kind of people are employed in the Chief of Staff's office that none of them could see that this is something we must pass on to all the law enforcement agencies so that if they need him, they can, invite him and get necessary arrangements. Today, when I look at it, I'm like, oh, child. Anyway, I'm sure maybe we should get a full day for that. So, Mr. Debra, you should be investigating people in your office. How come? Because now you are taking the fall for it. Yes, because I can imagine that as Chief of Staff, you can't read every letter. But you employ those people. They work under you. So how can such a letter come to your office and not be given to police, Yoko, OSP? It beats my mind.
So the expectation was that as the letter was written, and at least the various security agencies should have been alerted.
Absolutely. This one is no brainer. How? He writes you know that Chief of Staff, you don't do investigations. So you should know that when such a letter comes, automatically it's meant for law enforcement agencies. Because Chief of Staff, you're taking care of the president. So he says, because the president implements the laws under Article 58. So he's informed president, you should take it out. And so for that reason, I told you that the first time OSP declared him wanted, I said, no, I don't agree because the man went out legally. He even informed, even the letter wasn't necessary, but he took an extra step and informed, right? So you can see that is me. And me, knowing that today, if it comes, it's good for my court case. But you see, well, it's not my case. It's the CDD, etc. I'm lawyer for that.
It's your case, essentially.
Well, but so you say, yes, but I have to be fair to him. So that first time, I said, no, I disagree with OSP. We gave you so much support. Then you sit down and do this. I look at it and I'm like, this man. But it's good we gave him the benefit of the doubt. We, as lawyers, we are trained to use due process. Of course, inside me, yes, you have doubts, you have suspicions, but in law, they say a multitude of suspicions don't constitute evidence. And it's not proof, right? So I said, no, let's go by due process. Because he wrote that letter, I didn't support OSP on that first outing. But so many months on, and then you repeat the same thing, shambolic performance. So for me, this is it. It's good that the OSP has declared him wanted again, except that OSP 2, we need him to answer some questions. I've raised it before. You see that under the Mutual Legal Assistance Act, Act 807, 2010, you know, that one is for criminal cases. So if you need help, the person is outside Ghana, you go through our Attorney General, then our Attorney General will write to the U.S. government. At least at a point, they are saying Ofori-Atta is in the U.S. or any other country.
Yes. Okay. So they give 6 locations, but this Mayo Clinic, we know it's in the U.S. They have and other branches. I think from our search, we saw one in the UAE, one in China, and then also about 11 other countries as well. But this letter purported to be from his doctors. It's from the Mayo Clinic in the US.
Exactly. So you write to the Americans. So the Attorney General, Dr. Ayine, would reach out to the U.S. government. We need Ofuriatta for this. Long and short, what I'm saying is that we should have also used a bit of that time from the February to June, you see, so that we could have reached out. So speaking plainly, for me, I to date, Mr. Jabin hasn't explained. And you see, we are using information. So speaking plainly, I'm not altogether happy with Mr. Jabin that he didn't use the video conferencing facilities that you can use if you apply to the U.S. authorities, where they would then grant facilities so that you would do video conference. It's in the law. So that you can conference with Ofuriatta whilst you're there. Because from February to June was a lot of time. That's why I say, so it's based on information. You see, when you're in public office, you know how Ghanaians are. We are minimum 33, 34 million citizens, right? So we'll ask questions. So you should see that Ghanaians will ask questions. So when there is a law that says that we can seek the help of the foreign government so that we can talk to him, do video conference, ask him to bring documents, etc. If you reject it, then come with reasons for us to be at par with you, because you know it's governance. If you say, "Oh, you are the OSP," Mr. Jabin cannot even say he doesn't owe us an explanation. He does, because these are state resources. The time we're using is also a resource. So why are we sitting on our hands for 4 months saying, okay, we'll wait till June, when we could have been engaging him through video conferencing, etc.? You have a question?
Yes. The question was that this same question was put to the OSP during the press conference. He said that Ken Ofuriatta and his lawyers cannot be picking and choosing.
Yes, I heard that's not an answer.
Dictating to the OSP how the investigation.
No, that's not an answer.
Why
Please,
is that?
with due respect, that's not an answer. The question is that we have the Mutual Legal Assistance Act. We, US, they are always asking us for help. All right? We also ask. So if they need something, extradition, they will write to us, send us arrest warrant, all those things. Then we extradite, we arrest people here, extradite them to the US, etc. It's for cooperation and this. Because if I had the one, I want to get my investigations moving forward quickly. The man says in February, I'm not coming. But eventually you guys agree he will come in June. That's a long time. We could have negotiated that well. In the meantime, for other things, if you are strong enough, can we do a number of video conferences? This day will ask for this, that day this. Then you progress. I don't. That's why I said, so Mr. Jabin, you need to explain why you can't. It's not an answer to say a suspect or an accused cannot pick and choose. That's not an answer. What is at stake is that our resource, our time, we've lost time. So you can't come and give us an answer that an accused cannot pick and choose. That's not an answer. You've lost time. Account for it. Why did you do that? I would have engaged him straight. I would have engaged him. Because remember, it's that Dafemi will tell you, and the lawyer ma'am is here. It's not Ofuriatta who is coming. He's not obliged to come and hang himself. You are investigating. You have your information that you think that, yes, this one, you think he's done something wrong. So it's your information. You have to ask him. If you are lucky and he confesses, fine. But he can still confess even if you are engaging him through this Mutual Legal Assistance Act, right, with the help of the Attorney General. So I don't understand. He should explain to us why he sat on his hands for this, about how many? 3.5 months minimum. It's a lot of time. You don't have much time. And you know, the expectations of Ghanaians is growing. There's pressure. So I would have engaged Ofuriatta. I would have. I don't know, unless maybe there's something. And when he was giving, there's something that we don't understand from here. But once we don't understand, give us the necessary information why you didn't engage him. But not to say that a suspect or an accused cannot pick and choose. That one, with due respect, it's not an answer. We've lost time. That's a lot of time. From February 18th, right? Yes, to June 2nd. So you had the whole of March, whole of April, whole of May. Then you add about this is about half of February. Yeah, so minimum about 3.5 months. That's a lot lot of time, extremely. Now, I think OSP2 must answer for that. Yeah.
Well, the OSP is going to answer in a bit for it because Samir Ako is going to be joining us on Zoom then. And I want you to respond to this, that that position that has been espoused, that under the Constitution, Konofo Adjei has the right not to even incriminate himself.
Yeah.
He has a right to remain silent.
Yes, Article 19.
Even if he's extradited.
Yes. So ask him. So if you give you the information, if you are doing video conferencing, he will tell you, I will give you. And then we want your statement. Once the permission of the U.S. authorities have been sought, yeah, he will send the statement. Then at least you know that, well, this is a man who says he will not confess. Then you start preparing. But say, okay, let's wait. It's... it's difficult. Mr. Jabin, this one, that side is a bit tacky. It's a bit tacky, because 3.5 months is a lot of time. Lot.
Well, let me bring, like I said, Mam Hesse in a bit. That proposal about Mr. Kwame Jantua, lawyer Kwame Jantua said he was expecting that within this period, the OSP should have at least even traveled to authenticate whether or not Konofo Adjei is sick. Have they got into that point as yet?
Please come again.
And whether his proposal was that, I think Lawyer Matikbebu also supports that between February and June, the OSP should have taken a step to authenticate whether or not Konofo Adjei is sick.
Okay.
You say it hasn't gotten to that point as yet. Why?
I mean, for me, I am of the humble opinion that the OSP, just like all the security service involved in investigation, is to investigate the offenses that he so alleges. As to whether the man is sick or not, when an invitation is extended to him, his handlers, albeit his lawyers, they are to come in to indicate his situation. So, in respect of his health, they are to show that forthrightness with the OSP, indicates that this is it. The man is not well, and it's not just letter writing, but it should be supported that indeed this is the situation. But we witnessed a lack of let me say judiciousness, as saying the information flow was not there, and it meant more of negotiating with such information. The information given to the OSP could be treated as confidential, not necessarily divulged to the public. And I believe that if probably the lawyers had done that, we wouldn't have gotten to this escalated level. But for the OSP, he is not too minded about further putting in resources to know whether the man is indeed sick or not. Because, number one, the OSP is even so not sure where the whereabouts of Mr. Ken. That is the reason why he went to the circuit court to procure a warrant of arrest. And based on that warrant of arrest, he's now going through Interpol for the red notice and now seeking further procedures through the Office of the Attorney General for extradition processes to kick in.
Well, just on that point, and because of that issue you raised, Samir Dakon, lawyer Samir Dakon, is joining us on the telephone. But it was trying to get him on Zoom, but we couldn't connect. But he's joining us on the telephone right now, thankfully, to respond to some of the issues that you have raised. He's the Director of Strategy, Research and Communications Division of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP. Lawyer Samir Dakon, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Alfred.
Now, first off, why did you, I mean, the Mayo Clinic letter we have has the United States address, but in the wanted notice that you published declaring Ken Ofori-Atta wanted, you listed 6 countries on there, talking about the US, UK, South Africa, Guyana, Hong Kong, Cayman Islands. Why?
Okay, thank you. First of all, let me say that it's not every information that as law enforcement we may put out for purposes of protecting our investigation. So if you see a law enforcement agency list jurisdiction, take it to mean that they have intel that may suggest a few other things than you, who is not inside the investigation, will be aware. I would like to address a little confusion in the minds of, I think, lawyers in particular. You know, some lawyers are treating Mr. Ofori-Atta as if he's an accused person, which means that Mr. Ofori-Atta has been charged, or let me begin with that. He has been arrested and charged. So they will talk about why the OSP not taking advantage of mutual legal assistance program and go and do video conferencing, blah, blah. The OSP is aware of all these things, but these things are used when a person has been arrested, charged, and placed before a court. As we speak, Mr. Ofori-Atta has not been arrested by any law enforcement agency. So the suggestion that we could take Mr. Ofori-Atta via Zoom may not apply, because we cannot arrest a person through Zoom. We cannot take a caution statement from a suspect through Zoom, because the only time you can take a caution statement is when the person has been placed under arrest properly, so-called.
Right.
And let me also address the little issue about trial in absentia. If you study our Constitution very well, Article 19.3 details how trial in absentia should happen. And the conditions are about 2. It says that when a person, an accused, when we say an accused, it means that you have been arrested, charged, has a disruptive behavior, like that placing before the court will disrupt proceedings. Or if the person, having been charged, that is, the accused, being placed before court, elects not to come to court at all. So there's a popular case called Kwachi, that is the Republic, which is like the case on it even ended at Court of Appeal. The whole idea is that the person must be tried in his presence, unless that person facing trial elects to say, I don't want to attend the trial, right? But we also do know that, how about if, so that's why it will even take international court. And it's the same principle across international courts of human rights matters. If you take the ICC, for instance, why do you think that they issue arrest warrants for people and put them on Interpol, heads of state, former heads of state? Why? Because they could try them in absentia. So why don't they try them in absentia? But they still insist that they should have been arrested and brought. So if you say Slovakia, Milan Slovakia, one of the presidents, after he had been arrested and placed before the ICC, he then elected and said, I won't come to court again. Then they decided to try him in absentia. Why is it a win to me? They not tell Yoku that you have evidence against me, I'll go to court and try me. You don't need me. Why is that today Ghana police have arrested several people, hundreds of people? Why are they not telling Ghana police that, oh, please, if you have evidence against me, go to court and start the process. I don't want to come there. Please, it is not so. Let's not, in our haste of trying to still pin an error on an agency. Agencies are not perfect, but rules are rules, laws are laws. And the OSP has tried to abide by the law. Now, let me address this issue by Ken Ofori-Atta in terms of whether they brought us a medical report or not. Ken Ofori-Atta, as we speak today, has not brought us any medical report. What Mr. Ofori-Atta has brought us are 2 things, and I will expatiate on the first one. The first one was that on the 28th, through his lawyers, Mr. Ofori-Atta did bring a letter from his lawyers, a very terse letter with no attachments. And the letter just read, and the SP read into the letter, but people may not have paid attention. The letter just said that we want to thank you for your indulgence of our client. 1, they even acknowledge that we have indulged their clients. And then 2, they proceeded to say that our clients will not be able to come on June 2nd. Then 3, they proceeded to say that our client will go and do a surgery, a cancer surgery. Then 4, they said that if the office is so minded, they can meet us and allow us to see his biops. What it means that they want us to see his diagnostic procedures. Then the last one, they said that, or alternatively, they can seek permission of the court and allow us to see it. Then and there was no other attachment. Then the second letter, which many of you have, before we could see any letter, they had already put it through Assassin Radio to everybody. Apparently, they had filed a supplementary affidavit in an ongoing human rights action that Mr. Furiata had filed against the OSP, in essence trying to say that the OSP cannot declare him wanted without a warrant. Now we are producing court that we wanted to arrest Mr. Furiata based on a warrant from a court. Now they filed a supplementary affidavit apparently on the 27th. But remember, on the 28th, a day before, we were in court with them over an injunction application. They were seeking to injunct us from arresting him without a warrant. And that procedure, when they were there, they never brought it to the attention of the court nor the Office of the Special Prosecutor that they had even filed a supplementary affidavit for their old case, which they filed in March somewhere. Now, this supplementary affidavit, we saw it, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday. That's when the bailiff served the office. Now, when we even look at it, it's the same letter they've attached. Now, when you look at it, it's the same letter they've attached, and there is no diagnostic procedures attached. And yet, when you see the letter you just displayed, you see at the tail end that they have enclosed something. They said some medical report and another report. Now, these two reports, they are missing in the entire supplementary affidavit they filed in court. It's not part of it. So the exhibit does not include even that diagnostic procedure. But we are not so minded by these diagnostic procedures because those procedures can even be done in Ghana in 1 hour. If you go to the urologist department at Kolebu here, it can be done in an hour and you just go home. That is why the office has maintained that unless Mr. Furiata has a certified medical report from Mayo that says that he is incapacitated, and here many people don't understand it when we say incapacitated. What we mean is that if somebody says he is sick, it is not a bar not to come before police. The only time you can refuse not to come to police or police will oblige you is when you are unable to say walk. You are bedridden. So we want to know whether Mr. Furiata, since February, he has been on hospital bed in Mayo Clinic till 2nd June, or Mr. Furiata, since February, has been traveling. We want to know. Because the only time you cannot travel is when you are bedridden. And the OSP is saying that, and that's the context many people don't understand us. We are saying that until we see a medical report that says the Furiata cannot travel, that is the only time we may accept and give him some time, because then incapacitation counts everything. But to simply say that you are sick so you can't come, do you know how many people in Ghana are going to Kolebu for diagnostic procedures on cancer every day, and yet they are standing trial in court, they are appearing before the police people? Because the only time you go is the time you have the appointment. In between those times you don't have appointment, you have to appear. And Mr. Furiata will have to appear. That is why we are now enforcing his appearance. So we have done the right thing by placing him on Interpol red notice, which means that we want him arrested. And then we have also started the extradition process. We have written to the Attorney General. It will go through the Attorney General to Foreign Affairs so that he can then be repatriated back to Ghana. So in the long and short, Ghanaians, all the office is doing is now ensuring his attendance. That's all.
But I'm sure that's what you were responding to earlier, that based on the provisions in the Mutual Legal Assistance Act, specific to criminal cases, you could, this is Section 5K, you could have explored, and it is lawful, you could have explored the video conferencing option and even written to the authorities, the United States authorities here in Ghana,
And most especially, the act is not limited to accused persons. It's not correct. He should
it's
show
not limited to accused
it's
persons.
Not. When you are in investigation,
so you don't
allowed.
need to have accused Kenneth Ofori-Atta or being an accused person before this video conferencing option is explored.
It's not true. Let me answer you, and I'll repeat. I think that the people of Ghana heard me very well, and they understand what I've said. Mr. Ofori-Atta has not been arrested.
Yes, I think that's clear.
There is nothing else we will do. You don't know why we need him. Law enforcement agency will write to you and say that we need you for interview. You don't know what happens when you enter the law enforcement office. You have no idea what it is that the OSP wants to do. And I'm saying that we can't take any statement. Who even told Ghanaians that?
Can you, look, listen, Sami Dako, can you point to the law? Point to the law specifically.
I know you want to have your day, but
no, I'm just saying point to which section. Which section says that it's only when somebody's been arrested that you can use the Act 807?
Of nothing.
No, don't go there.
Who told you Martin people? And as you've gone on this who told you that the OSP elevate? Hold on, if I can finish. Who told you that the OSP wants
No, but the specific question was to, I think there was a question that was posed to you. It's not about Martin People specifically. It's a question that was posed to you. That what is the specific provision of the law? Does the law back what the position that you are espousing?
Hold on. There's too much talk. I can't hear because I'm on the phone. Those of you in the studio have the advantage of having louder voice and clearer. So if you can let me finish because I'm on the phone.
So no, I'm asking a question about what specific provision of the law.
I said you have called the provision, and I've told you that. Who even told you that the OSP wants Mr. Ofori-Atta to write a statement? Who even said that?
But if you don't need him, then what are you doing? What are you doing?
If you don't need him to write a statement, then what's all this about?
Who even told you that it's a caution statement the OSP wants? Because the law is very clear. A person can come to you and decide that you will not even talk.
Yes,
I'm saying that USP says that it wants Mr. Ofori-Atta in person. And he has offered to us that he wanted us to take his caution statement. Listen on. Martin is saying something differently because he is saying that he wants us to take his caution statement via video conferencing. And I've just told you that even in law, we cannot take a caution statement if the person has not been arrested. And I've gone on to also show to you that you cannot arrest the person via Zoom, let alone take the caution statement via Zoom. We need Mr. Ofori-Atta in person. And it's not true that the OSC has delayed. We have our timeline of investigating. For you, you may think that the OSC has delayed. For us, we may not think we have delayed because we ought to take our time and do. And Ofori-Atta is not the only case the OSP is investigating. As I speak to you, over 30 people are on bail. Soon they will be arraigned before court. We have so many things we are doing. So the prosecutor and the investigator has his timelines of what he's doing, and he says that he needs the person to come before him. You don't know why he needs the person. And yes, you have a right to know. But at the appropriate time, when we are now very clear that nothing compromises our investigation, we inform the people of Ghana. In any case, the USP stands out as one of the most transparent law enforcement agencies. And all of you can bear testimony to that.
Okay, Mr. Alako, so I want to ask a question. Since you said you need him, he has a right not to incriminate himself, right? So you can get him, and he still will be silent.
What is in the arrest?
So what would the arrest be?
I just told you what you just told me, that Mr. Ofori-Atta can even decide not to talk. It is not our business.
Yes.
For investigators and prosecutors, that's not our business.
Yes. So what will be the consequence of the arrest?
And you want me to be able to tell you what you need him for. And I'm saying that I cannot even disclose.
There is no, listen, let's come in this.
Okay,
Mr. Dako, Sami Dako. Wait, our constitution doesn't say that, right? You see, when you say arrest is touch and then inform him the offense is committed. That's the arrest, right? Now, he's not here to be touched and informed. What in the Constitution prevents us from saying that, listen, so because you are not here physically to be arrested, we are going on that, look, we would, we have a case against you, X, Y, Z. So let's go on to the next process. This touch and inform him. That's the arrest. In law, touch and inform him that we are taking you for this and do you need to take him into custody before you do anything? What is this restrictive interpretation of the Constitution? What? Okay, touch him and inform him.
I'm not going to have anything, any banter with you. I'll answer the post now. What you have just said is not new from what I just told you.
But you said with arrest, you cannot go on with the rest of the process.
You just made a wrong assumption. And I've just told you now that your assumption could not be true.
But that's different from saying that with arrest, you cannot
do. You are in the studio. When I'm talking, please allow me to talk. Give me that chance.
Why?
No, over and over. I just had the opportunity to address.
Okay.
So if you could just allow me to address. I've addressed you specifically that Mr. Furiata had requested for his caution statement to be taken on the internet. We have said that throughout the law, if you don't arrest a person, you can't even take a caution statement. You will not now tell us that we should do that, because you are the same people that when we don't follow law, the slightest loophole, lawyers will take advantage of it. Allow us to do our job. We know what we are doing. In fact, we know what we are doing. And nobody is infringing on the right of anyone. Mr. Furiata, if he is not incapacitated, should be able to attend to a law enforcement agency. There are several things that happen inside. You have no idea what happened when Wuntumi entered Iyoko. You have no idea. We may assume. Allow the investigators to do their job.
Under the scope
okay.
Was it touching? I have to go. But
yes,
I think
but then I know you're doing. So yes, I know you're doing like this. Yes. A quick intervention I wanted to make. Just a quick one.
No, not a quick. Give me my time.
You have your time, but just in the response of some of the
I want
that
he should finish.
Yes.
But give me my time.
He's done. He's done.
Yes, he's done
with him now.
Thank you very much. I have a problem with Sami Darko's position on this matter.
Why?
The OSP is a public institution.
Yes.
And they have laid down procedure to handling these matters. We're all trained in the law. In criminal procedure, we know what we must do. Arresting a suspect, cautioning the suspect, making a prima facie determination, and proceeding to charge and arraigning the suspect is only one option provided under law, Act 30. It's only one option. That is arrest, then charging, arrest, cautioning, making a prima facie determination, issuing the charge sheets, and then arraignment. It's only one. The other option available is that you can actually proceed against a suspect, then making a prima facie determination without even seeing the suspect, based on the facts and the evidence. Charging the suspect, preparing a charge sheet, and filing the charge sheet in court. The charge sheet would now be served like a civil process on the accused. If he lies, you shouldn't appear in court on the appointed time. Other procedures provided under Act 30 would kick in. A warrant of arrest will be issued, directed at police officers or a certain police officer or certain police officers to effect arrest of the accused person. When the accused person is arrested, he will then be brought to court. Do you know why bail? Do you know the jurisprudence behind the grant of bail or denial in this country? It's about whether, as an accused person, you will not be a fugitive of justice. You will not be willing to defend your interest in a matter. Whether you will interfere with investigations into a matter. Or when you are on bail, you will go and commit further offenses. If you can demonstrate all this, no court will hold you. No court will hold you. But if you demonstrate any or all of this, that you interfere with further police investigations, you are capable of committing further crimes, and that you will be a fugitive of justice, you are not willing to attend court to defend yourself in the matter, the court will hold you perpetually. But forget about your rights. So these are options available to any prosecutorial agency in this country. So Sami shouldn't tell us that. Do we know why they want to Furiata within the presence of OSP? Why are you going to torture him? What are you going to do to him? Why are you actually asking Oforiatta to come? If you know that you can do any of this, they are wasting everybody's time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a waste of time.
They are wasting.
What is happening?
They are wasting everybody's time. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you that under Act 30,
have options.
under Act 30, which is the Criminal Procedure Act, there's a procedure to deal with this matter.
What is the procedure?
Procedure is the arrest, asking willy-nilly that an accused or now a suspect be willy-nilly brought to your premises, arrested and brought to your premises. It's only an option. He just told us that who even says that they want to take a statement from him. But as a lawyer, he can't speak. As a lawyer and a state prosecutor, you can't speak unguardedly like that. Because we are all interested in the matter. You have other options. I've just enunciated on that. If you are finding it difficult to get to a suspect on a complaint before you, look at the complaint, look at the facts, look at the evidence you have. Preliminary. You can proceed to court by making a prima facie determination. Prima facie determination is not only a constitutional law matter. It's a criminal law matter as well. When a complaint comes, before a policeman will say, I am taking you to court, the law enjoins him to determine whether or not the matter is prosecutable.
Yes.
If the matter is prosecutable, he would then charge you for court. You don't need the presence of an accused to charge. It is only one aspect of the procedure.
So the OSP can actually just go ahead and charge.
Exactly. In fact, you can issue a charge sheet, file it like a civil process. The court registrar will direct the court bailiffs to look for the accused person and serve the process. Serving the process is also a matter of law, all provided under law.
We have said a lot about.
So let's talk law first to underpin the processes. Then we can look at other options. If the person is unwell, why? I've been a criminal defendant, a lawyer in many matters. Accused persons have always been brought to court in crutches, in wheelchairs, many times. Me, with my experience from trial. So, if Honorable Ken Oforiatta is unwell, he can still be charged. Because as for prosecution, if there is a prima facie determination that the offenses that is to be charged with are triable, by all means proceed to court. In any case, recently, an accused person, she was charged, went to court for some time, sought permission to seek medical attention outside, didn't come back. What did the Republic do? The state proceeded to deal with the matter. And convicted and sentenced in absentia. Yes. And it's not the first time. So, you see, we are not interested in jailing Oforiatta if he's guilty. We are interested in recovering whatever financial issues or monies that are involved. We are interested in the recovery. So if you don't initiate the criminal prosecution, how would you file processes to freeze assets if you think that certain assets must be looked into?
Yeah.
You can't do that. So initiate the criminal prosecution, then you can follow it up. Or freezing of assets application and all that. That is what we are interested in. The things they did to people like Victor Solomon and all, we are not interested. We are interested in recovering monies involved. Look, a former finance minister of this republic, my own uncle, Senior Kwame Pipra, was he not a finance minister of the Republic of Ghana? Was he not tried by another government on some charges and actually convicted and sentenced? It's the same office that he occupied, the same seat that he sat on. Here he's deputy. Deputy eventually ended up dying. Another uncle, Victor Salome, they died. So when this is not about
fundamental
politics.
question is why the OSP hasn't charged Ken Oforiatta.
Exactly.
He doesn't
when you know that your reliance on a certain procedure or approach is failing you. You want the person to come so you can go through a certain process. You want to say you are under arrest? Okay, come and look for.
And the U.S. government cannot do it for us.
Go and look for authorities to come and.
The U.S. government cannot do that for us.
To come and meet bail terms and all that.
Them.
It's failing.
Oh.
The other option is that look at the complaint. Look at the facts.
Can you let me come in because I need to go somewhere.
Look at the facts. When you spoke, I listened to you patiently. Let me finish. When you spoke, I listened to you patiently. Look at the facts. Look at the evidence. Make your prima facie determination. If you make that determination, it is that you cannot prosecute this matter, tell the Republic, tell the state. But if you can, by all means, initiate the process. But to say that, do you know why we want him? Who even says that when he comes, we want to take statement from him? Then it means that you are taking the sentiments of the people and the interest that the nation has in the matter for granted. And time is flying.
Yeah.
We are in June. If you can prosecute. If you cannot prosecute, tell us that because of A, B, C, D reasons, you cannot prosecute the matter.
Yes.
He's not needed in person.
Yeah,
for prosecution to initiate.
Yes. So, Mr. Ocansey, please let Mr. Dako answer this. So, we arrest people and extradite them for the U.S. government, other people. So, the U.S. government that we arrest for, they cannot arrest Oforiatta, the 2 ministers under Article 14, and say, Mr. Oforiatta, we are arresting you for the government of Ghana so that blah, blah, blah. Then we take the caution statement. The U.S. government can't do that. He has to fiscally come. Then how have we been arresting people and taking them to the U.S. and all these other countries?
So why is this option not being explored by the OSP?
Alfred.
Yes.
Alfred.
Yes.
I'm so happy about what has just transpired. I think that the understanding is becoming clearer. I like what Martin Tebu just said. You know, he said that we've been arresting people for the U.S. government.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by activating the Interpol Red Alert Notice, it automatically now means that we have given an arrest warrant to the jurisdictions that they may find him. So, when the U.S. finds him, he will be placed under arrest. As we speak now, Mr. Oforiatta has not been placed under arrest. There's this school of thought, and I'm happy people are talking about that school of thought that we can try people in absentia, blah, blah, and all that. It's a very difficult area that we've been exploring. It's not clear-cut that you can place before court when they've not been taken through the arrest procedures. What the Ghanaian jurisprudence so far has shown us, and if there's any lawyer who has a case law on that, let that lawyer put it out there, has been that a person is first taken through the arrest procedure, investigations completed, placed before court, and if the person elects not to come. That's why I asked the question. If that was the case, why is it that people are not able to freely say that I will not appear before you, police, I will not appear before you, IOCO, I will not appear before you, NID. If you have sufficient evidence, why don't you proceed to court and file it? The issue is not about whether we are delaying. I noticed the film has even made reference to freezing and all that. Of course, freezing can be done without the person because we have administrative powers to freeze people's bank accounts for 14 days.
Precisely the point.
Confirmation. Those are civil procedures allowed under the OSP law. So they don't even come in, and we can seize and freeze and confirm for up to 1 year and even renew it.
So why have you not done that?
Why have we not done that? Why you see, that's why I'm trying to say that you need to understand things in context. The law enforcement agency is working. Allow the law enforcement agency to work. When we are so clear about what we have done, and then we will come and inform Ghanaians. Because I've told you that we always do brief Ghanaians. And besides that, our law allows us to brief Ghanaians every 6 months. So it's not an issue about whether we are slow, we are fast and in place. No, we will take our time and do our professional work. When we are done with it and we need to take an action, we will take the action and inform Ghanaians. The point I was responding to was that Mr. Oforiatta had written to his lawyers to tell us that we should take his caution statement through the internet. And I was just responding to say that it's not tenable because you don't take a caution statement when a person has not been arrested. And as Martin people have said, Interpol red notice becomes an arrest warrant. Let Mr. Furiata be placed an arrest and let's see what processes will come out of it. It is not an issue about someone is delaying, somebody doesn't want to do this. It is neither here nor there. I was responding to specific questions of Mr. Furiata and his lawyers. And to also say that we have given Mr. Furiata enormous time to appear. And it appears to us that he does not want to appear. That is why we are forcing his attendance. That is all there is. There is no issue about somebody doesn't want to be taking it for granted. Someone is not investigating. We are doing our work. And we'll do it to the best of our ability. We take all the feedback. If it means that we need to revise notes on certain areas, we take them and do that. At the moment, we are saying that his request is not tenable. It doesn't mean that the OSC doesn't know what it is doing or the OSC is not in a hurry to file charges. We are saying that we have to follow the procedure. And that is what we are doing. I thank you very much.
Well, Sami, yes, you made your point. I think that it doesn't necessarily address all the other issues. Because if you say you're doing your professional work, does that mean that in doing your professional work, you cannot charge him until he's physically present?
That's why I was telling you that there's no jurisprudence where somebody has been charged without being present. Let me take this.
Really?
There's a particular case.
Is that the case?
Yes.
There's no jurisprudence?
There's no jurisprudence in Ghana now that makes you charge somebody criminally in absentia. That's why I said that I need them to produce those jurisprudence for me. They will go, like people have said, I said that there are two schools of thought. The two schools of thought that we all know, like they said in the former Maslock CEO. I've seen people make reference to that. But therefore, what happened in this case is that she was taken to investigations and arrested and filed in court. And then when she was granted to, that's when she went outside. So then it's easier to try her in absentia. And I've said that certain processes have to be triggered. So if we're able to trigger through the Interpol red notice now, and things manifest, we are able to go ahead. But I was specifically responding to the lawyer saying that we have to take caution statement. I said, no, that cannot be done. And now we have triggered processes. So now that we have triggered Interpol processes and we have also triggered extradition, these things can easily be done.
So let's even use Mr. Daku's logic. So I know Mr. Daku is my very good friend, all right, but this is for a national discussion. So let me come, Mr. Daku. So it means that we are now on the same point. When Ofuriatta didn't come in February, we could have done that quietly, that, okay, we'll trigger it, not make big news about it, so that he can be arrested in the US, that simple thing. And then all the other things, you'll be engaging him. Let's learn. We've just seen that we lost time. Like you said, we all make mistakes. Let's learn. But please, going forward, let's see. Because
you see, you just made a point which is very interesting. You are the same person who says that we have to inform people, we have to be transparent enough, we have to do this. The law establishing OSP said that the OSP ought to be transparent. Anytime we have come out to speak, it's because we think that we need to inform Ghanaian public about something. So when we came out, Mr. Furiatta then told us that he then gave us a definitive plan and a timeline within which he will come. We looked at our calendar and noticed that we can accommodate Mr. Furiatta. Mr. Furiatta did not act in good faith towards us. And we have gone back to the process that we needed to do. You yourself also have acknowledged that sometimes you need to give people benefits of the doubt.
Mr. Daku, at the point in time that Mr. Ofuriatta volunteered that he would want to have the virtual meeting with you, could you not have arranged with him through the Mutual Assistance Act for him to be in a security office, given the Mutual Assistance Act, for all of this virtual meeting to have gone on?
Once the arrest was done.
With respect to the Mutual Assistance Act, Section 5.
You have gone back, you have gone 360 degrees and you've come back. You notice I just told you that an arrest warrant through Interpol had just been sent.
Okay, so it's okay, it's accepting.
Nothing like that had been sent. Please, if you take your time and you follow.
It's okay.
what
It's
I'm
okay.
saying.
It's okay,
You
Mr.
know
Adako.
we have been fair, and I've told you what.
But do you also concede that even without you going through the all of that you had done, when he volunteered himself through mutual assistance, you could have dealt with this matter swiftly, and whatever information you want under Section 5K, you would have dealt with this matter.
Mr. Furieta sent us the letter on the 28th of May. We activated mutual legal assistance on that same day. Less than a week, mutual, how do you call it? Interpol has gone through extradition process is going through. I don't think that we have delayed in anything.
Okay.
We simply have said that we need to enforce his attendance, and the attendance involves ensuring that an international arrest warrant goes out and extradition takes place.
But you know, it's also not simplistic. It's also not simplistic.
But
it's one thing to have the extradition requested.
1 minute.
But it's not simplistic. Just like you just said, as he has volunteered, processes has to be followed. So now that we've done that, let's see how his volunteer.
You also challenge the process in the US.
So what
the
happens
extradition
after
in the
this?
US.
Quick one. What happens after this red notice that has been published now?
What happens is that Interpol would have to place him under arrest, and then Attorney General would work on the extradition processes, and whatever it is that we account in the process of the extradition will take place. So that's going to be the message.
Sami, let me
Before you go, because you disagreed when you said that.
Sami, you will go.
On the
but let
matter
me
of
ask this.
No, I need to go now.
Are you saying that our prosecutors under Act 30 Criminal Procedure Act, you don't have an election to proceed to present a charge sheet, file it at court, and have it served on an accused person? Are you saying that you don't have that procedure?
I think that I've listened to you very well, in almost respect. Yes, you know what I've just asked you is that give me a precedent of someone who has not been taken to the arrest procedures, who a civil action has been served on him outside. We are treating Mr. Furieta as if he has currently elected that he wants to be tried in absentia.
That is not the point. That is not the point. I am saying that under our laws, under Act 30, under procedure. Please, Sami, please. You are saying, Sami, you have submitted that there is no jurisprudence, and I'm saying that I will leave jurisprudence aside. Statute provides, under Act 30 provides that where a prosecutor can actually charge an accused person and file the process in what we call criminal summons, file it at the court, have it served on accused persons as a civil process. A date will be appointed for the accused person to appear to answer the charges. And you are saying that there's no law, there's no jurisprudence. And I'm saying that the law provides for it. It's an election that our prosecutors don't take. But that option is always available. It's not always that you must arrest somebody, charge him, or caution him first, charge him, make a prima facie determination, and do an arraignment. It's only one option. The other option is
Honorable, I understand what you just said. All I'm trying to tell you is that whatever procedure that you are talking about, certain processes ought to be done. And I've told you that I will not be able to disclose the full whole of why.
It is not whatever procedure. It is the procedure provided under law.
As a legislation.
So let me stay on that point. I think
if you read Act 30 from Section 60 to 75, it's there.
And I'll stay with you, Mr. Roxon.
I've just told you that.
Yes, round up for me.
Before. What you have also said, and I told you that there are two schools of thought.
It's not a school of thought.
It's not a school of thought.
It's not a school of thought. It's the law. It's not a school of thought. I'm not urging a school of thought on you. I am urging a procedure provided under law for you.
Okay, hold on.
If you elect not to take it, that is fine.
You reference Act 30.
Yes.
So it is not necessarily what a school of thought is, but the reference is made to the provisions in Act 30. Mr. Dako?
Which reference has been made? I'm saying that you need to understand the reference he has made in context.
What context is that?
This is not the following for
It's
that.
not criminal prosecution.
I don't want us to change the debate as to whether we can try him absentia or not. When we get there, we will know.
We are not talking of trying in absentia. Okay. We are talking about whether you can actually charge.
You do not know why we need Mr. Furiata. It's not just for purposes of charging. It's not just for purposes of.
You want to dance with him?
It's not just for purposes of arrest. They are.
Sammy, why do you want to Furiata? Do you want to have a cocktail dinner with him?
Hold on.
Make your point. End your point. I thank you very much. I need to be on another program which I had already promised. I need to keep my word. As I said, this debate is not about whether we can try an abstention or not. This debate is about a suspect who has refused to appear before the OSP, and the OSP is enforcing it.
So we are pointing you to another way, another procedure.
So he says they know their job.
If the other way is the
they are proceeding as expected.
Every Ghanaian in Ghana will decide that when the law enforcement agency invites them, they will not come, go straight and file it. That's what I told you. There's a reason for why you need to do investigation. There's a reason. And we're saying that we want to do that process. I understand that, yes, you want to know the nitty-gritty, but you are the same people who are accusing us that we are either disclosing too much or we are not giving too much information. I'm saying that, can we exercise some patience and trust the process that it will be done? In the first place, the OSP is the one that came out to say that we are investigating on 5 cases. And we are doing exactly that. It's not also true that other law enforcement agencies are not investigating him. Why do you think that other agencies have not done all that you are saying? Because we are not the only ones investigating Mr. Kenneth Furiata. The other agencies are also investigating him. It's just because that the OSP had to come out because he had agreed with us on certain terms and he has failed to honor the terms, and we are only enforcing his attendance. We shouldn't reduce this meeting into whether we can try an abstention or not. I have told you that. Other than that, everybody should be able to do that. There's several people, they should just tell the police that, please just file it in court and let it be served on me. I don't need to come to your office and order. And nobody is having any fun in arresting anybody. If anything at all, I just told you that there are about 30 people that very soon will be placed before when they are under arrest. And yet none of you have heard about it. And they've been granted bail.
I see.
Nobody is interested in keeping anybody for anything. We are saying that allow us to do our investigation. There may be good reason why we want to see Mr. Furiata. You are saying that it may not be necessary for us. We should just go. And I said that we are the ones doing the investigation, and we know why we may need Mr. Furiata. And it's not because Mr. Furiata says that, can you take my caution statement? Or because somebody says, try him, file civil processes in the form of a criminal thing. We are saying that it's not that. Allow us to do the job we are doing. Your suggestions are well taken, but allow us to do our job. And when we are done, we will let you know why we needed Mr. Furiata. You want to know it now. We are saying that you don't know whether giving it out will compromise investigations or not. What we ought to tell Ghanaians, we have come out to safely tell Ghanaians about it.
Well,
thank you very much.
Well, Samuel Dako, thank you very much for joining us. Essentially, he says, and Nelson Ross in the front report.
Let me say this. My information is that it wasn't the chief of staff, Honorable Julius Debra, who permitted Oforiatta to exit the country. So you may have to cross-check that fact.
No, he said he wrote to the office.
Not the permission.
It's not permission. That he wrote to the office. Please, it's public knowledge.
Okay, but he didn't permit him.
I know. I said the letter went there.
No, he didn't permit him.
I didn't use the word permission.
No, I don't think Magic people said permit.
The letter went there, and Debra and his staff did a poor job.
No, hold on.
The special prosecutor himself.
My attention is being drawn to the fact that
we didn't say permission. We are saying that the letter went there. So they are not denying that one. The letter, Oforiatta's letter, went to chief of staff. The first time,
chief of staff is indicating that Nothing like that came to his
Oh, no, definitely. Don't do that. We've settled this time. The first time he came out, he didn't deny. The first time OSP issued it, he came out and said the letter went to Chief of Staff. Oh, Google it.
Chief of Staff?
Yes, Chief of Staff. Oh,
so
it's not deniable. Please, just Google it. Google it. No.
I will
Google it.
Because
Google it. It's
the verification that you're giving me is that.
No. Whoever I say is misleading you, that one. Let's not do that. They made a mistake. We'll hold them accountable for that. That's all. Next time, you should be more watchful. That
he didn't permit anybody.
Yes, we didn't say permission. Oforiatta wrote to Chief of Staff. That one is too late. The first time we did the discussions, it was here. All the newspapers, everybody, they said yes. They didn't. Chief of Staff didn't deny it. Now the second time, people are trying to stop this rationalization.
No, I'm not rationalizing.
I mean, the person's trying to do that.
Yes,
the person's trying to do that. No.
The point is, there's not a question of permission.
Okay, so what was it?
It's a letter he wrote that I'm traveling, blah, 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 blah.
So was there a response to the letter?
On the floor of Parliament.
Nobody responded to the letter?
Yes. And that's why we are complaining about.
So we need to find out where that letter went. Because there ought to have been an official response. Agreeing to the terms of the letter or not.
So even on the floor of Parliament, so it's even parliamentary. He said it, everybody agreed. They said he wrote to Chief of Staff that we used it for the discussions. Where is that person? Trying to correct everything. No. It's
about setting the records.
No, it's too late. It's too late. Then they have to. The person should go to Parliament. That person should go to Parliament and recall all the hands and everything.
I don't think I was in
whether
Parliament.
there was a response to the letter that was written. I think that his mom very quickly, because the special prosecutor consistently is making the point about they knowing what they're doing.
Yes.
And that they are following the professional path to get to the end result of this. Says we don't know why they need Kenneth Oforiatta in person, physically. And if you check the general sentiments, there is not much support for that virtual interrogation or interview that Kenneth Oforiatta's lawyers are proposing. There's a lot more support for him appearing physically. The OSP is mindful of that, is it not?
Yes, the OSP is mindful of that. But you see, the whole process is pretext under the context of law. And indeed, just like my senior said, arrest basically means to touch and inform. Now, should Mr. Oforiatta be in the offices of the OSP, the same thing happens. These days, they use the word invitation, but it is an arrest. And when he comes in, he has the legal right not to write his statement or to do same. Now, his writing of the statement would further contribute to evidence building, but majority of it, or the work ought to be done by the OSP by establishing whatever case they have against him. He could choose to assist them or not, because with criminal prosecution, the prosecutor, you are alleging that Mr. A has done this particular offense, or he has breached the law, and by that, we have this dossier that we want to discharge against you. So it is beyond reasonable doubt. The burden is so high. The OSP can choose to assist you in investigating that or not. So then that takes us to the context of his presence. Yes, his presence is desirous, but in a situation where you have an uncompromising suspect, because now a warrant of arrest has been issued, we have triggered it through Interpol. Now, given the situation as it is, he's not well and all of that, can it not be the situation that once he has even volunteered that I want to have virtual with you, even though it's not the traditional or the conventional way of interrogation or police interrogating a suspect, but once a warrant has been issued and we have the Mutual Assistance Act, Section 5K, which deals with the issues of such matters through technology, can't can't OSP and then through what's the name, Attorney General, and then the security service in the US have Mr. Ofuriatta rolled in, then that virtual meeting would happen. Even because where assistance is involved, if it's caution statement, whatever information that you want to, if you look at the scope under section 5 of the mutual assistance, it deals with all of these things. And then whatever you want to procure out of him, that's if he wants to under Article 19, he could volunteer or not volunteer, because you cannot necessarily depend on him to make your case. Right. So we believe that there are options to explore rather than just this one straight path. And also, just as I've mostly said this week on your platform, the extradition process is never a simple process, because once he's taken in the US for extradition to happen, he could object to the extradition, and that would mean another legal process altogether.
Which would then waste a lot of more
yeah,
time.
so at the end of the day, what will be the end goal? What's the net value there? Because there should be a legal objective in all of this. And we are working against time. So there's a body law that could be explored in order to evaluate options, so to get the end result. Okay. So we are only urging on them that if they could, they should explore options, how to rope him in, and for the criminal procedures to happen in Ghana.
Thank you. A number of your messages: was the OSP not investigating Ken Ofori-Atta from last year? Why did they not have undercover agents to follow Ken and to know his movement, so they could have arrested him before he traveled outside? This is from Mani Nimani. Thank you very much. And so many of you also sharing your thoughts this morning. And you're so live here on the Key Point. It's always on 3FM 92.7. We're going to go for this quick break. When we're back, we'll get into more issues. But let me remind you, I'm clothed this morning, as always, every Saturday by Cogra Clothing. It's the best version of you. Locate them on the Spintex Road, 18 Junction, opposite the Allied Oil Filling Station for this outfit and many others. Call them on 0244-238-341. That is 0244-238-341. Choose Cogra Clothing. Choose right. I'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is Key Point on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook and DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. A number of your messages. This one here, Abraham Heaven says that your guests this morning are giving legal education in a very interesting way. Philip Kanjele says, per Samid Akon's explanation, I'm beginning to believe that there is something somewhere that the OSP itself should be answering pertaining to Kenneth Riata's case. He says the delay is too much, you say. This one here says, I agree with Nelson Ross and Dafiamepo for the call for a speedy, he says, adjudication of this particular case. And if what lawyer Christian Mamhesi said before you went on your break is anything to go by, we are not seeing the end of this case anytime soon if Kenneth Riata decides to challenge this extradition of him to Ghana. You say, thank you. Livingston says, with the way things are moving, I don't believe that these agencies saddled with the constitutional responsibility to fight corruption are indeed ready to do so. You say, thank you very much for your message this morning. This one here from Dr. Kwame Asante says that the suspect has initiated many offensive actions through his lawyers. I think there's good progress and clarity on this case. There's a reason Kenneth Riata has not said he will not attend to the OSP. I pray there will be same interest in cases involving members and appointees. And so there must be, and there's nothing medically presented to indicate Kenneth Riata cannot come. This impression of an impending and urgent surgery remains spurious as presented in February. Is this cancer new? I'm not a lawyer or a physician, but with the Interpol, can his medical history be the subject of investigative subpoena? Many reasons why his lawyers have not submitted same formally to OSP, says Frank Davis has never answered that particular question, you say. Thank you very much for your message. This one here says, I want to find out from Martin Pebo whether the Interpol red notice automatically means that Kenneth Riata would be brought to Ghana within the shortest possible time.
No. That's the same thing that Lawyer Mam said. If he wants to challenge it, it can be years. You remember the UK example, the man who leaked the WikiLeaks, Julian Assange. Yes. He fought the US government for 5 years. Eventually, he didn't go. They had to settle, so they went to a certain US island somewhere in the oceans, and then he went and pleaded guilty there, and then straight to Australia. So it means that if his conduct so far, if Oforiata's conduct so far is anything to go by, it means that he's going to challenge it. So we can expect to be in this for years.
And I can cite another example. I mean, if you look at the case of Republic versus Director of Prisons, Espati Alote, it also involved Ghanaians who cocoa transaction, and the U.S. government sought to extradite them. They resisted, even though they were detained in our prisons. They fought over a while, but the court ruled that indeed they have to go back because they applied to the court as applicants. And there are other examples. There's also the same thing, Espati Schumann, which involved the Nuremberg trials and Germany. You know, he was hiding here in Ghana. He ex-Nazi soldier in the 1966 case. After a long legal battle, he had to be extradited to Germany. So it is not a simple process. It's not a simple process. You put the person on a hotel list and the person will be extradited like that. No.
Okay. Kizito from Tema East constituency says Kenneth Riata must be brought down and to face the law. This is a warning to the incumbent government and its officials. Power is transient and must be guided. This leads us to our next issue about the declaration of public of assets by public officers. Yesterday, the special prosecutor says he's not going to add his voice in support of the call for the publication of the details of the assets declared by officers, public officers and appointees of government. And he gave reasons why. He would rather support the publication of the names of the public officers who have declared their assets Take a look.
Lifestyle audit non-conviction-based asset recovery should be stamped in the Constitution to encompass public officers, politically exposed persons, and persons in the private sector suspected of having engaged or engaging in corruption and corruption-related activities. On the reckoning that the person must have legitimate sources of income sufficient to justify the interest in any property that that person holds. Therefore, where a person's resources far outstrip his legitimate income, the unexplained portion should be liable to confiscation. This will be a critical tool also to detect fraud and undeclared income for tax purposes. Thus, conviction after criminal proceedings should not be a condition precedent for asset recovery purposes. That is, proceedings on an application for a confiscation order or a restraint order should be civil and not criminal. And I'm coming to disappoint some of you. I do not, and I will not add my voice to calls for the publication of assets for public scrutiny. In our experience, it will be unhelpful and would merely subject public officers to inordinate public curiosity and the specter of the real likelihood of reprisals against their assets. In my estimation, a publication of who has declared or has not declared his assets in the context of a workable asset verification and tracing model would be sufficient to assure the integrity of the asset declaration system.
Mr. Special Prosecutor there, Lawyer Martin Bebo says it's going to disappoint some of you, and I'm sure you are one of them because you're a person who has been consistent in advocating for the publication of the assets declared by public officials. He says it's unhelpful, or it's going to be unhelpful, and he gives reasons why.
My good friend Kisi Ejabin, today, I don't know. When I heard it yesterday, I was curious. The reasons he gave are matters that have been dealt with in the 90s. These reasons were raised in Parliament. These reprisals, armed robbery attacks, they were dealt with in Parliament. People said it. I don't know that part. Maybe Mr. Ajabin shouldn't have commented on this matter at this time. You see, just when we're supporting him that, the red notice he has issued is good, Oforiata, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Then he goes to boom on this one. With due respect, I disagree with Mr. Ajabin. It's not his place to make that statement. It's not Mr. Ajabin's place to make that statement. The previous government, through President Kufuor, had stated that they are going to give us a world-class asset declaration law, right? And it was in the context of publication, verification, etc. President Kufuor said it not once, but twice in 2023 at the bar conference in Cape Coast. That's why President Kufuor said that it will be world-class. So the world class, today you look at UK, America, and even the African countries where they do the disclosure. Any asset declaration law without the disclosure is not publication, it's not asset declaration law. So when the Kufuor said it will be world class, no, it went without saying that there will be publication of the assets. So it looks like it's way too late for Mr. Ejabin to wade in at this time to make that comment because you see it's government policy. When President Kufuor spoke, that's policy. So the commander-in-chief, the president of the country, has made it clear that we're going to have a law which is world-class. And if you read all the literature, they tell that publication is one of the key things. Key. Without that publication of the disclosed assets, you have nothing. You have nothing. So, I mean, Mr. Ejabin shouldn't have done this. So I'm trying to be very nice because, as I said, we are all concentrating on how to get the Oforiata to account for those cases. You see it. So we will not go hard on Mr. Ejabin, but next time I think he should be more cautious. It's not his place to do that. When the President of the Republic has already done so, and the whole society, and you know what, this debate, like I said, started in the 90s, so this debate didn't start. We are only Latter-day Saints. So, Mr. Ocansey, the last time you quoted from Parliament, 1990 something, please.
1999.
Yeah. So viewers, you can just Google it. 1999. These arguments is given were given in Parliament, right? So they used it to stall the new asset declaration law, right? Then civil society, citizens kept pushing and pushing. Then eventually, as a society, we all agreed. Even the last administration, Honorable Dafiamepo was leading charges to draw a bill on that one. And then Honorable Berima, the other Kuranza MP. Yes. So we've moved on. Mr. Jabi, on this particular topic, I think he's not followed the trajectory well.
A bill that is, our government is preparing. We are about tidying up a bill.
Very good.
So we, the private members, will be asked to wait for government so that we can.
Very good. So, Mr. Jabin, this one there, you behave like.
Water has passed and
yes, like Red Van Winkle. There's a story of Red Van Winkle. He slept for 20 years.
Overtaking my time.
Exactly. When he woke up, the world had changed. The American Revolution had taken place. He went to the village. He couldn't recognize the people and all those. There are several other stories based on Red Van Winkle. They are older ones, both in the Quran. This and then they are Christian. The 7 Ephesus, something Ephesus, people who sleep 200 years, they wake up, then they've lost touch with the world. Mr. Jabi, this one, let's concentrate on Ofuriata. This comment here is not on. We've moved on. The society is accepted. You know what I even have here? I still have Akufo-Addo's speech at the Bar Conference, Monday, 9th September 2024. That's in Kumasi. You read this speech at the Bar Conference, he repeats that he's going to have that asset declaration law passed. Of course, that was in September, so a lot of us were skeptical, but that he could get it passed. But the main point I'm referring to Akufo-Addo's speeches are that a former president had said that we are getting world class. Mr. Jabin, you can't get a world class asset declaration law without some form of publication of the disclosed assets. Maybe if you had said you want the American system, where instead of just putting it on the internet, it's somewhere there can be accessed by anybody applying for, will give the reason, then they will scrutinize the reason before they give. Maybe I could have said that's middle of the road. But when you come and make a statement that you don't support it at all, I get, no.
But these are the reasons he gave for that position. He says, in our experience, it will be unhelpful.
Yes.
And would nearly subject public officers to inordinate public scrutiny or curiosity.
Yes.
And a specter of the real likelihood of reprisal attacks against the assets.
Good. So let's go on. So, Mr. Jabi, before the Constitution came in, we had PNDC law, is it 208? We had an asset declaration law. You know, I've been here a number of times. I brought the declarations. So when Rawlings declared his asset, PV Obeng, all of the ministers, all of them. Mr. Jabi, where is the record of reprisal attacks? That was in the 90s. So that's why I said this topic, no, he didn't research it. He shouldn't have. This time, because when you do this, then you are fueling already the distrust that some people have for your office. I don't want to go there, but you've just driven straight into that suspicion. You've driven straight. By me today, as I said, we are trying to move forward, so I'm not going to go too much. But that's a mistake you've made, because you know there are people who are saying that, no, you know, I don't want to repeat those things. Let's leave it, please. But this topic, please, the debate started over 25 years ago. It's too late for you. It's like Rip Van Winkle. We've moved on. As a society, we've agreed there's going to be public scrutiny. And it's to help the very fight against corruption. So that if you know that, look, Pebu has just this hand coup, that's it. If you see me entering another house that doesn't belong to me and it looks like I'm too frequent, I have too much control on it, you go and report. Then, yes, and all that. So I'm surprised that more than 25 years after the debate, when the nation is moved on and have embraced publication of the disclosed assets, you now want to go back. Oh, no. So, but let's leave it there. Akufo-Addo has already given government policy. It doesn't look like President Mahama will walk back on that government policy. Honorable Dafemeko is here. He's majority chief whip. He was in favor of publication. That's how come he was going on with his bill. The MPP, Chumberima, was also in favor of publication. So, for me, the key thing in one word is that there's government policy for publication, verification, etc. So, it's not in your place as special prosecutor to now come after the president has done so since 2023. You couldn't challenge Akufo-Addo. You couldn't challenge Akufo-Addo 2023, 2024. You didn't challenge him. He's left office. President Mahama is about to pass the law. Now you have strength.
I guess it's okay.
Yes, I mean, basically, I support my senior. I mean, the public balances the fight against corruption, because indeed, where there is publication of assets, in the situation where there is an unjust wealth, it is easy for a member of the society to pin or to point out to the fact that this can reasonably be inferred that it is unjust, because based upon the asset declaration, if this minister or this government official could explain that. I mean, if you also look worldwide and from best practice legislations around the world, a number of, in Africa, there are over 28 countries engaged in publication of assets. If you look at the G20 states, all of them engage in that. So it is nothing new. And if we are talking about best practice, fighting corruption, I rather think that the OSP should be at the forefront to make sure that such matters come forth. Indeed, we also have body of laws to deal with persons who would want to, the inordinate attacks that he spoke of. Body laws deals with those things. We have our Criminal Offences Act and other things that will deal with it. You cannot attack somebody because he has built a mansion, and you cannot cause criminal damage because of A, B, C, D. So yes, such concerns, while legitimate, but there are laws to deal with it. So it will nullify the concerns why it shouldn't be published. We are fighting corruption, and everything that should come in to help fight that particular canker to its barest minimum should be encouraged.
Thank you. Nasir Rosen, Majority Chief Whip, on this, you say that there's already a process in place, and you are part of it, to strengthen the asset declaration regime?
Now, one of the cardinal principles of reading a constitution is to read it as a whole.
Yes.
And that principle has not departed from us ever since we entered law school. The principles and ethos of our 1992 constitution is about accountability and transparency. We may be having difficulties in implementation, but that is the ethos and the principles underpinning it. You must be accountable to the people. How can the Constitution provide for a declaration of assets and deny us the opportunity of seeing the nature and character of those assets? We are enjoined as a people, as parliament, to actually enact laws to give flesh to that provision in the Constitution. It's a creature of the Constitution. And if you look at
286.
If you look at that provision, it is that provision that deals with very, very, very interesting things. Conflict of interest and all that. And let me, with your permission, let me read 286 quickly.
Yes. In 2 minutes.
Code of conduct for public officers. If you are in a public office, you are enjoined to declare. Can you declare and hide? Does it even look by the sheer nature of the language? When you declare, you are opening it up. You are stating it publicly. That is why it's called declaration. You are stating it that this is what it is. You can't declare and put it in a closet. So that is why Parliament has been blamed for not coming out with legislation to give flesh to this. And you see that a lot of public agencies, including Parliament, they've designed their own code of conduct for public servants, code of conduct for parliamentarians, code of conduct for judicial service officers, code of conduct for judges. They are all pointing. They are all a derivative of this law.
Yeah.
That there's a certain code that you must follow. Now, if you read 287,
why you round up for me?
An allegation that a public officer has contravened or has not complied with the provision of this chapter shall be made to the Commissioner for Human Rights and Administrative Justice. So, I think, like Martin said, he got it wrong.
Okay.
He got it absolutely wrong. I think that being the special prosecutor, he should be the first advocate, should be the first disciple for publication.
Thank you.
And so he's wrong. We have taken up this matter like 5 years ago. Design private members bill. The government says, hold on, we are sponsoring a larger bill for this. So you wait. When we can marry both legislations and then we do this. So look, assets must be, and it's not only about assets, it's also about liabilities.
Nelson Ross in the Frame Report is my
So that's what Kisi should know.
South Dai MP, Lawyer Martin Pebble, and then also Lawyer Christian Mamhesi. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Professor Godfrey Boffin and others who joined us earlier. On behalf of the rest of the team, we do appreciate your company. Have a great weekend. I am Alfred Ocansey.